Essex Sport.
Victoria Polly with you on BBC Essex Sport, on air until 10:30 tonight. Full commentary coming up of Aldershot against Southend United in the National League. We'll hear from the Blues head coach Kevin Mayer and midfielder Cav Miley before we get to kick-off at 7:45. They're already underway in the Women's Nations League this evening. England taking on the Netherlands. Sarina Wiegman, the England head coach, facing her home nation for the first time as England boss. Alessia Russo and Ella Toone starting for the Lionesses tonight, and they've almost played a quarter of an hour in that one, and it's still goalless there. In the Isthmian North tonight, if we look at the local football going on, there's just one match involving an Essex side, Whittam Town travelling to Wroxham. In the Southern League Division 1 Central, Waltham Abbey are at Stopfold, and there's a number of first round ties in the BBC Essex Senior Cup this evening. Harlow Town host Burnham Ramblers, Buckhurst Hill and Holland meet, while Wivenhoe Town welcome Ilford and Coggeshall Town go to FC Clacton. There's just one match in the Thurlow Nunn Division 1 North this evening, with Stanway Pegasus hosting Haverhill Borough. Keep you up to date with all of those games across the evening here on BBC Essex Sport. A reminder that Southend United have made 3 changes to their starting lineup for tonight's match at Aldershot after Saturday's 2-1 home defeat by AFC Fylde. Harry Taylor, who was on the bench for that game but was struggling after a bout of food poisoning, comes into the starting lineup alongside Gus Scott-Morris, who's back from suspension, and Callum Powell. Wes Fungook drops out of the squad with an injury, while Dan Mooney and Jack Wood drop to the bench for Blues. If you want to react to that team news, 81333, start your message with the word Essex. You can WhatsApp 08000 321 333, also starting with Essex, and you can get us on social media at BBC Essex Sport. We'll open the phone lines and the emails for you as well a little bit later in the programme. And don't forget, we have a closer look at all things non-league and what's going on in the world of Essex football on a Friday for you. You've heard from Glenn Pennyfather building up to kick off this evening here on BBC Essex Sport. Well, he's always with us on a Friday between 6 and 7 here on BBC Essex for a chance for you to put your thoughts on your team across on the airwaves. You can get in touch by giving him a call, 0800 111 40 41. We hear from various clubs, we'll hear from players, managers and the such like, and Glenn always has a featured Pennyfather pundit as well for us here on BBC Essex. So if you're interested in that, you can drop us a message at essex.sport@bbc.co.uk. We'll return and get a reminder of team news shortly. We'll get a roundup of the other day's sports news as well. But before we do that, the continued off-field plight of Southend United hasn't gone unnoticed by the wider football world. There's another court hearing looming on the horizon for Blues. That's next Wednesday, the 4th of October, and former England footballers Gary Lineker and Micah Richards have been having their say on the situation. Speaking on the Rest is Football podcast, Lineker said how important it is to retain community assets like Southend United.
We've had numerous stories in recent seasons of clubs being on the precipice of going bust, and that is most certainly the case with Southend at the moment. Football in communities, in towns, in cities is such an important thing, isn't it, Micah?
It's massive, and it's so disheartening to hear that. As a young person, and especially as a young boy, I was always talked about as what do you want to do when you get older? And it was always play football. So you'd always go or gravitate towards your local club, and you would do whatever it takes to keep that local club afloat. So a local club to me at the time was Farsley Celtic, and we did everything in our power as a community to keep that afloat. Then when you go a bit bigger, you go to Leeds United. Then I went to Oldham Athletic as a kid, and I had kept all these values from such a young age, and that's all we thought about, and that's what we were taught, and it was always about having a club that you could connect to and enjoy and have that community feel. So when you have owners coming and just taking over these clubs without that feel, this is always going to be what was going to happen. And this is why Gary Neville talks about it so much, about this fit and proper test and independent regulator and all these things, because of it's getting clubs in positions like this where they have no say, and that's what we don't want.
That's right. The fans they've had demonstrations. Obviously, they got a 10-point docking, and they're right at the bottom of the league. It's desperate times. It reminds me of a situation at Leicester City. I think it was either 2000 or 2001 when they were in a very similar predicament, and the money had all run out. And it went into administration, and I was actually involved in with a lot of people. It was my agent, John Holmes, who's been my agent since I was 18, still is, massive Leicester fan. And the two of us, with the help of one or two other people, got together, probably got about, 20 or 30 people to put in money. They were either fans or a few wealthy friends of ours. And we managed to save the club, but it was such a battle and so important. But the one thing I can say is that, we weren't in a position where we could have invested funds to buy players and stuff like that. So eventually the club was taken by somebody else. Basically it was almost like a charitable donation, what everybody did for the club, which was really important. And then of course 15 years later, who would have thought they won the Premier League. Now for a club like Southend, it would be lovely if there was someone came in, a fit of proper person, saved the club, and the fans got what they wanted, and hopefully the current owner will try and do his best for the football club and the local community.
It's just sad, isn't it? It's hard. Fair play to you for doing that as well, Gary. I didn't see you as a litter picker.
It was so important, though. I grew up in Leicester. It was it's a team that I played for them for 8 years. I've supported them all my life, and it would have been a tragedy for a club like Leicester City to go under, and it would be the same for Southend, because it does mean that much. And when football's so awash with so much money, you just wonder how that sort of thing can happen, and perhaps there's a way that football itself can help clubs when they're in financial peril.
It would be good if it could. It really would.
That's Gary Lineker and Micah Richards speaking on the Rest is Football podcast about the Southend situation, and we will keep you up to date with everything that is happening off the field with Blues in the next week as we lead up to that High Court case, which is due next Wednesday. We will return to the recreation ground in the next few minutes here on BBC Essex Sport to get a reminder of team news, but at 23 minutes past 7, let's get a roundup of the day's other sports news with Tom Larson-Wright.
BBC Essex Sport.
Thanks, Victoria. In football, it's currently the Netherlands 0, England 0 in the Women's Nations League. That one was a 7 o'clock kickoff. Before the match, former England captain Faye White said she's glad that their off-field issues around performance bonuses at the World Cup have now been resolved.
When you're players, you don't really want to have to concentrate on off-field matters, but equally with the way the women's game is going, it's growing all the time, and other things off the field need to be addressed and looked at and professionalised better. So, just improving the conditions really, and respect for the women's football all around the world.
The third one-day international between England and Ireland has been abandoned because of rain in Bristol. England were 280 for 4 after 31 overs when the weather intervened, with Ben Duckett unbeaten on 107. England therefore win the series 1-0 after the first ODI was a washout. Afterwards, England's white ball coach Matthew Mott revealed he's spoken to Jason Roy, who says he is available if needed as a reserve for the upcoming World Cup.
Toughest decision I've been a part of when you leave a player of that calibre out that's been a great servant and has done nothing wrong really. To be squeezed out of the 15 was probably, particularly for Joss and I, one of the most difficult sort of conversations we've had to have. But in the spirit it's been in, he's taken it as well as you could hope. He's determined to get back there. He's determined to make sure he's fit and ready should an opportunity open up.
Britain's Jessica Hawkins has become the first woman in almost 5 years to test a Formula One car. Aston Martin announced on Tuesday that Hawkins completed 26 laps in their 2021 car at the Hungaroring near Budapest last Thursday. Finally, in snooker, Colchester's Ali Carter is through to the third round of the British Open in Cheltenham. He beat Zhu Shi of China 4-0. Stuart Bingham from Basildon is in action tomorrow, facing Ishpreet Singh Chadha of India.
Victoria Polly. BBC Essex Sport.
Thanks very much to Tom Larson, right, rounding up the day's other sports news. And on the subject of snooker, earlier we heard our latest episode of our snooker podcast Frame, the 50th edition. And next week we will be live at the English Open in Brentwood, taking in all the action, the second year that event has been held at the Brentwood Centre. It was great to be there last year, and we'll have Shabnam Yunus-Jewel recording Framed live from that venue for you. So keep your eyes peeled on BBC Sounds for more about that in the next week or so. And later on the programme, we will get some more reaction to Essex's first day of their final county championship match of the season at Northamptonshire. Northamptonshire closing on 279 for 6 when bad light stopped play earlier. That one was delayed this morning as well due to bad weather. There were 2 wickets for Jamie Porter and Matt Critchley, as well as 1 apiece for Sam Cook and Simon Harmer for Essex, but they were frustrated by Rob Keogh, who's unbeaten on 154 for the host. Second day of that one, you'll be able to hear it live on the BBC Sport website and app from tomorrow morning, just before 10:30. Let's return to our commentary match this evening here on BBC Essex Sport, where our focus is on the football. Southend United at Aldershot this evening. Let's get a reminder of the Blues team news for tonight, as well as some details on Aldershot as well. Your commentary team this evening, Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennyfather.
And a surfeit of options for Kevin Mayer this evening, in that he's able to make 3 changes and he's got 3 subs as well. So 3 changes from the side which were beaten at home by AFC Fylde in a disappointing overall performance on Saturday. David Martin still in goal. The back 3, Jason Demetriou, Ollie Kensdale. Harry Taylor is back. He was not 100% fit at the weekend, but did take a place on the bench, but he's back this evening. Gus Scott Morris is back from suspension on the right hand side. Jack Bridge on the left. Noor Hussain will sit deep behind Ollie Coker and Cav Miley, who's back in a lot more familiar territory in the middle of the park, although he's done a very good job recently as a makeshift centre half. Up front, Harry Cardwell is joined by Callum Powell this evening, another one who's been struggling slightly with injury, couldn't be risked from the start at the weekend, but an extra couple of days means he can start here tonight. The bench, Dan Mooney and Jack Wood, they drop out from the starting 11 from the weekend, and they're joined by Mauro Villetti. There's no Wes Fonguk this evening, went off injured at the weekend. And in Kevin Mayer's words ahead of tonight's game, I just can't risk him, which probably gives you the idea that at a push he might have done, but the fact that he can have 3 subs this evening means that Wes Fonguk can be rested and hopefully fully recover ahead of the weekend trip to inform Rochdale. As for this evening's home side, Aldershot Town. This is their 11th season in the National League. They've made the playoffs on a couple of occasions over the course of those 11 seasons, but as yet to get back into the Football League. They're now under familiar management. Tommy Widrington, who had a short spell as Southend United's assistant boss, who left Kings Lynn towards the end of last season to take over down here and ultimately keep Aldershot in the National League. Well, he makes one change from the side, which got a very good 3 points on the road at Boreham Wood at the weekend. Jordi van Stappershoff is their Dutch goalkeeper. They play 4 at the back: Haji Minoga, Aaron Jones, Kean Harris and Ollie Harfield. 2 holding midfielders, Tyler Frost and Theo Widrington, one of Tommy Widrington's sons. The other one you may be aware is on Strictly Come Dancing these days. The 3 ahead of them, Ryan Glover, Josh Stokes, who's got 6 goals this season, having joined from AFC Sudbury in the summer. He's joined by Jack Barham, who's their one change tonight, and up front front, Lauren Talage, who was promoted with Dundee from the Scottish Championship last season and has joined here on a free transfer from Brighton. Their bench, they name a goalkeeper in Jack Bycroft, joined by Kobe Rowe, Ethan Burnett, Tommy Willard and Kwame Thomas, another one who lifted silverware with Dundee in Scotland last season. Referee this evening is David McNamara. Now, if you're scratching your head and you're thinking, I'm sure that name rings a bell, well, he was the referee who back in 2018 was suspended for 21 days because he didn't toss the coin up at the start of a WSL game. Instead, they did rock, paper, scissors. He'll have a coin in his pocket this evening, I'll wager. There's your teams, Victoria.
All eyes then on the start of that one ahead of kick-off. Let's hear from the Southend United head coach Kevin Mayer, who says managing his small squad is proving tricky.
My concern is player welfare at times as well, because we go into games with 12, 13 players. Somehow that can't be right. As I said before, we're the players and the staff and everyone, we're the ones that get punished on the pitch. And it's none of our doing at all, and we're giving absolutely everything for the club, and it seems to be the ones that we take the punishment. Surely they've got to look at it and go, well, something's got to be easier to deal with than what we're dealing with at the minute.
Kevin Mayer there speaking after the match on Saturday, where the Blues were beaten 2-1 by AFC Fard. It's 14 in the squad for Southend United this evening. And Glenn, you were saying there, and Glenn Pennyfather, we were talking at the top of the programme about Wes Funguk and that injury. And for Kevin Mayer, he's just not risking it, and not even risking putting him on the bench just to fill a seat, because it's not a huge amount, but Southend United do have a bit more of an option this evening.
Yeah, I think Wes Funguk, in terms of Wes and whatever's happened with players this season when they've had slight knocks, if that knock has been something where he just couldn't put him on, there's not a chance in the world he's going on, then it really is not worth putting him on the bench, and I'm guessing that's the case with Wes. I think probably somebody maybe like Callum Powell, maybe he said to the manager, look, if you need me, I can get out there, then that's a different proposition completely. But the bottom line is, if he had a normal squad, those sorts of injuries, those sorts of knocks, you wouldn't even think twice about it, because you would say, I'm not going to risk you. Even if you're 80-90% fit, I'm not going to risk you. I've got a full squad to pick from. I'll put somebody that's fully fit on the bench. But he doesn't have that luxury. And I think, players that are 80-90% fit, if they give the manager the thumbs up, and all these players here, I mean, if you speak to any of them, if you speak to any of the management team, there's such a togetherness here that, he's created that environment, and maybe that's through circumstances as well, but they want to run through brick walls for Kevin and the staff, and they want to do best by the football club, and that's what they've done all season. But I would suggest if they're not on the bench, then that means 100% they couldn't put any minutes on the pitch for Kevin.
Well, let's hear from the Blues midfielder Cav Miley, who says there's still confidence amongst the squad despite the off-field challenges.
In my opinion, we're good enough to beat anybody here with what we got, and it is tough, but yeah, we don't look at it like that. We know our jobs, and no matter where you play on the pitch, we've all been here for a long time now, so we know if you, like me, you have to step in centre half. Everybody knows their roles, and I genuinely feel we're good enough to beat anybody here.
How are you finding it at centre half?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but like I say, the group we've got here are brilliant, and we all know our roles, and yeah, it's a great group. Like, anybody could step in there, and people can step in midfield into my position, and we work so hard all week to see that you've got to know your role when you come in. And I think maybe that first goal is just a lack of organisation. That's maybe something that we did miss today.
Obviously, Kevin Mayer talks to us about financial situation, not being able to bring players in, that sort of thing. As a group, are you just fully focused on football, or does it creep into conversations?
Yeah, it gets spoke about, but like I say, we work all week, and we knew we had 5 today at home, and we just worry about that. We worry about making sure we're as fit and ready and prepared for the game, and as a group of players, we just try our best to concentrate on Saturday, Tuesday training, make sure there's a good feeling around the place through the week, and try and get results. I don't think we've got time to sit and worry about what's going on around us. Like, we've got Saturday, Tuesdays, and we know where we are in the table, and we need to start getting results, and that's the way it is, and we're going to try back every result up with a better result and keep going.
Cav Miley speaking after Saturday's game. Interesting to hear his thoughts and how the squad are coping with what's going on. Glenn, Cav Miley back in a more natural position this evening. He's been such an asset to Southend United since joining and having to fill in this season even, with the problems that Southend United have had. But it'll be a boost to have him back in a more natural position this evening.
Yeah, most definitely, and I fully understand in listening to that interview there, the mentality of footballers are, regardless of what's going on, the adversity you're having to deal with, whether you've got a squad of 14 like Kevin's got tonight, or you've got a squad of 30 odd players. At the end of the day, as an individual, you can only prepare yourself the best you possibly can, and you can only put the best performance out on that pitch the best you possibly can. You've got to get your own house in order. As an individual, you get your house in order, and if 11/14 people are doing that, then you've got a chance. So I can fully understand what Cav's saying. They can put that to one side. They're concentrating on the football, and we've heard Kevin say it a million times. They can only control the controllable. So, I understand what Cav's saying. They go out there, they train, and I did say to Wes last Friday on the fans phoning show, the fact that he's training a little bit, cotton wool now, that Kevin says, well, hold up a minute, don't start putting those sorts of challenges in. But he refuted that. He said, no, not at all. Such is the desire of the club, and such is the desire for the players to do things correctly, and their attitude and their application needs to be spot on. Training's full on as well, even with the circumstances the way they are. That's the way it is, and I can fully understand that. But Kevin will be delighted to have Cav Miley back in midfield.
He will, because I think, Glenn, he's done a great job at centre half. No one can knock him whatsoever. He's been asked to do something that doesn't come naturally, and he's done his absolute best back there. But looking at the game on Saturday, and the last couple of games actually, and Kevin Mayer referenced it in his post-match interview after the defeat by AFC Fylde at the weekend. He said, I thought we looked fatigued, I thought we looked tired. And I think what Southend have missed, that central midfield, they've just missed some drive. They've missed some legs in there. Noor Hussein offers you something, Ollie Coker offers you something, but Cav Miley has that drive to get the team up the pitch. And I think they've missed that, and they missed that on Saturday as well. Fylde did it, and did it really, really well, hit Southend on the break on so many occasions. But Southend just looked a bit more laboured, and that is what the situation's brought about. That Kevin Mayer said, well, I need someone to play centre half, and Cav Miley's put his hand up and said, look, I'll do it. But with that, they're penalised in another area of the pitch.
Yeah, most definitely, and I fully agree with you there, Glenn. One of Cav Miley's big attributes is his reading of the game, is his understanding the breaking up of play, and what he does, he reads things very, very well. And the art of good defending is a lot of it is anticipation and interception, and he does that a lot. And what he does, he gains possession, and then you're quite right, he drives forward, and he does get Blues moving and gets them up the pitch. He does have this ability to be able to change the point of attack as well from one side to the other. He's got a decent short to mid-range passing game, I think long range perhaps questionable, however, but when he gets that ball, the good thing about Cav Miley as a footballer at this level, and footballers are judged on this, he makes more right decisions than wrong ones. And when he's got the ball, when he's driving forward, he does tend to pick the right pass out. He does tend to pick the right timing of the pass out, and that's vitally important. And Blues haven't got a player like that. You're quite right. For all the attributes of the other players in there, your Noor Hussein, your Ollie Cokers as it is tonight, your Wes Fungbrookes, whoever is playing in there, they haven't got that ability that Cav Miley possesses, and that's why he's been a revelation since he's been at the football club. I remember going down to Eastleigh last year, and they was questioning. You remember me having the conversation, and they was questioning. I said, "Oh, Cav Miley, what a player! I can't believe we've got him at Blues from, and Eastleigh have let him go." And they was questioning whether Cav Miley, they wasn't quite sure about him. Well, I'll tell you what, I think they'd be pretty sure about him now, and they wouldn't mind him back, Eastleigh, I'm sure.
And talking of players at this level, you mentioned Joshua Stokes, who's part of the Aldershot side. Saw him quite a bit playing for AFC Sudbury while watching a lot of our Essex non-league clubs in the past couple of seasons. No surprise to see him at this level. But Aldershot have started the season relatively well under Tommy Widdrington, a no-nonsense coach that's come in and put the club on the right track at the start of this season.
Did a really good job at Kings Lynn, and raised a few eyebrows when he essentially walked out on them towards the end of the season, straight after a game when they were vying for the National North title with Fylde at the time. Ultimately they made the playoffs and got beaten in the end, and have just sat there
Witherington's replacement, incidentally, in Mark Hughes at the weekend, but that's by the by. But he did a really good job there, and Aldershot were in trouble last season. They were looking nervously over their shoulders without ever really being in the relegation zone. Their form just fell off a cliff, and in the end he hauled them clear, got them 5 points clear. They've had a bit of an overhaul in the summer. He's worked the oracle, has Tommy Witherington, some particularly good loan players, and managing to get Lauren Talage, who's had a few loans in and around League 2, and as I mentioned, promoted with Dundee last season north of the border. Josh Stokes, an undisclosed fee. I mean, he was part of the Sudbury side, Victoria, you saw beat Haybridge in the Isthmian North playoff final last season. Haji Minoga, who's on loan from Portsmouth, the Dutch goalkeeper as well, who's earning rave reviews. So he's put together, on not a huge budget here, but they are full-time, but not a huge budget, he's put together a solid-looking squad who shouldn't be in any trouble whatsoever this season, Glenn.
No, I don't think so either. As you rightly say, they have put together a really, looking at it on paper, and we know football's not played on paper, however, the squad looks really good. They score a lot of goals, 19 goals, one more than Blues. There's not too many sides that have scored more, but at the moment, Glenn, they are letting in a lot of goals as well. There's only Fylde that have let in more goals than Aldershot, 22 to Fylde's 26. So there, you do feel, Victoria, there's going to be opportunities for Blues tonight if they can be creative enough. I think it's going to be an open game. I think this is going to be an exciting game, and one we're really looking forward to.
Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennyfather back with you momentarily for commentary here on BBC Essex Sport. Just to tell you, almost 5 minutes to go until half-time in the Women's Nations League, and the Netherlands lead England by 1-0. They've dominated that first half. We'll keep you up to date with the scores in that one and the scores from the matches going on this evening across the country and locally here on BBC Essex Sport. But our attention is focused on Southend United at Aldershot in the National League this evening on all frequencies here on BBC Essex, and you can listen via the BBC Sport website and app too. We're on air until 10:30, but let's go back to the recreation ground as we join Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennyfather for commentary of Southend United at Aldershot.
BBC Essex Sport.
Much evening, welcome along. Very calm, cool evening, around about 16 degrees they reckon though, so it's nice and clear as well. Pitch looks very lush, just being watered at the moment, and as you would expect, a really good following. Have made the relatively short trip, it's around about an hour and 40 if the roads are behaving themselves from Southend down to this part of the world. But it's the Southend United side who continue to look to issues off the field to remedy themselves one way or another, so that hopefully things can then be remedied with a bit of help on the field. Kevin Mayer has essentially been coaching this side for over a year now with both hands tied behind his back, and what a job he has done, just missing out on the playoffs last season. This year, handicapped by a 10-point deduction. They'd be 8th at the start of play this evening, but for that 10-point deduction. Beaten at home by AFC Fylde on Saturday, and ultimately what was a disappointing performance as both sides just head out of the tunnel here at the EBB Stadium, the recreation ground, I think, to those of a certain vintage. Kevin Mayer makes 3 changes this evening. David Martin still in goal. The back 3 of Jason Dimitri, Ollie Kensdale. Harry Taylor is back. He had a sickness bug at the weekend which just restricted him to a non-playing role on the bench. Gus Scott Morris is back on the right-hand side, back from suspension. Jack Bridge on the left. Noor Hassin, the deep-lying holding midfielder, with Ollie Coker and Cav Miley back up the field ahead of him. And up front, Harry Cardwell and Callum Powell gets a start tonight as well. The bench is Dan Mooney, Jack Wood and Mauro Villetti. As for Aldershot Town, they've been good at home so far this season, just 1 defeat from their 5 home games. They won on the road, relatively short road trip to Boreham Wood at the weekend, and their manager Tommy Witherington makes just the 1 change, with Jack Barham coming into an attacking midfield role and Kwame Thomas dropping down to the bench. So they line up with Geordie Van Stappershaw in goal. The back 4 is Haji Minoga, Aaron Jones, Kean Harris and Ollie Harfield. 2 deep line midfielders, Tyler Frost and Theo Witherington. The 3 ahead of them, Ryan Glover, who had a really good game here against Southend on a Tuesday night a couple of seasons ago, Josh Stokes and Jack Barham, and up front Lauren Talage. The bench, Jack Bycroft is the replacement goalkeeper, Kobe Rowe, who was promoted from this division with Sutton a couple of years ago, Ethan Burnett, Tommy Willard and Kwame Thomas. Referee is David McNamara. I was mentioning about rock, paper, scissors with him a little bit earlier on, suspended back in 2018
for dispensing with the toss of a coin and going for the rock, paper, scissors option, although I'm not truly sure it was a proper option during a WSL game. He's got an interesting job as well as David McNamara. He's a trainer in the Royal Navy of submarine warfare. Hopefully this evening will be a lot calmer for him. Southend United in all yellow. Aldershot Town have gone into a huddle away to our left-hand side, and the Blues looking once again to bounce back from defeat, and they have done that on a regular basis under Kevin Mayer over the years. They tend to bounce back from a disappointing result, and you can probably count them on one hand probably in the last 12 months. A disappointing performance ultimately, which just lacked energy and lacked any zip at the end, and they were beaten by a filed side who, for my money, are in a very false position in the league. All set to get underway then, live and exclusive here on BBC Essex Sport. Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennefather with you at the Rec. Referee David McNamara just checking we have the requisite number of players. One of the assistants this evening, incidentally, running the line as we do get the game underway is Daniel Durso, the son of the former Premier League referee Andy Durso. Aldershot are in red and blue striped shirts, red shorts and red socks, and they're knocking the ball around the back at the moment, and it's with Minoga, who's on a season-long loan from Portsmouth, over the halfway line and closed down immediately. Cav Miley getting in a challenge there on Theo Widrington, who followed his dad Tommy from Kings Lynn in the summer. There are 3 players who followed him from West Norfolk down here and moving up one division in doing so. Tommy Widrington suited and booted this evening, just stood in a technical area in front of us, had what ultimately proved to be a very short period as Paul Sturrock's assistant a number of years ago. I say a number of years ago, it seems an absolute flipping age ago, bearing in mind what's happened to Southend United over the years since then. Alongside us from BBC Essex Sport tonight, the former Southend midfielder Glenn Pennefather.
Yeah, just watching that Jack Bridge, I thought that come off the Aldershot player, but the linesman give it the other way and throw in, just foul on Ollie Coker in the middle of the park. Yeah, but it's just going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with Josh Stokes, whether they're going to sit Cav Miley in there and he's going to be detailed to deal with Stokes when Blues are out of possession, or they're going to allow him to drift Stokes and then just play off of his shoulder with Cav Miley just joining in from there, and because I don't think Stokes is going to do a lot of work going the other way, but he is a clear danger going forward.
Started his career as an Ipswich youth player and was released from there, and then joined Sudbury's academy setup, which is an excellent setup incidentally on the Suffolk-Essex border, and impressed all through last year. And Aldershot ended up having to pay money for him. He joined for an undisclosed fee, having helped Sudbury get promotion. Sudbury, who were hoping to go into the Isthmian Premier, got shifted into the Southern League, and as a result of playing clubs a million miles away from him, there aren't too many local derbies for them now, so he's probably moved at a timely period and moved up the football pyramid as well, and getting his career back into the full-time ranks. The ball is clipped up towards the edge of that Aldershot box, dealt with at the back once again by Minoga, and then running through the middle here. Southend United are struggling just to get the challenge in, and in the end Taylor gets a long leg as Talage went on the run, and Talage still making a nuisance of himself, and Kensdale just has to be careful with possession on the edge of the box. A couple of minutes gone on BBC Essex, it's 0-0, but we've already seen the danger of Laurent Talage and the pace that he possesses.
Yeah, he looked sharp, Glenn, didn't he? And Harry Taylor did well just to hold him off. He got an arm across him and then just slid into the challenge just to toe poke the ball back to David Martin in the goal, but clearly can see that. And it was Barham who was a real good player at Maidstone last year, done really well at Maidstone, and I know he was a bit of a marquee signing. Aldershot were after him for quite a while, and he's a lad that's sharp as well, and he's in around, and he won that header just in front of Kensdale that set to large free.
On the halfway line for Southend United, this is Powell spreading the ball up to the far side to Coker. Coker moving it on one more to the returning Gus Scott Morris. Scott Morris plays it down that right hand side, and Powell continued his run. It's unceremoniously dumped over the stand roof over on that far side by Ollie Harfield. Southend have the ball at the back. Kensdale is sure with his back pass, under pressure there from Barham, and gets it back to goalkeeper David Martin. Just one defeat on home territory so far this season for Aldershot, and only Gateshead and Chesterfield, 4th and 1st respectively in this division, have scored more goals at home, as the ball over the top almost reaches Harry Cardwell, but good positioning from Van Stappershoff, the Dutch goalkeeper, on the edge of his 18-yard area and able to tidy the ball up, and up to the halfway line comes the ball into the feet of Barham. Turning his man, too much on that one though, and David Martin will be able to keep the ball in possession. In fact, was laid forward by Stokes there. Good turn by him, holding his man off, playing the ball forward, trying to pick out Barham and Talage, just slightly too much on it, and through to David Martin and dealt with. This is Kensdale bringing the ball out of defence, and the pressure comes from Stokes. Kensdale finds his man Coker, just tripped on the halfway line, and it'll be a free kick for Southend United, which Cav Miley will be stood on, but he'll be made to move the ball back. It's full moon in the distance over on the far side of the ground above the small seated stand. Kensdale striding out of defence, links up down this near side, apex of the 18-yard area for Noor Hussein. He's got Bridge on the overlap. Bridge just checks back onto his right foot, 3 yellow shirts on the box, rolls it under his boot for Hussein. Deep cross, too much on it, doesn't pick out Cardwell, but Coker can keep the ball alive here for Southend United. Goalless on BBCS into the feet of Scott Morris, just has to come away from the edge of that box, then turns it down the far side. Coker was coming back from an offside position, so can't gain possession. Aldershot clear their lines, appeals for handball. Talage lays it off for Stokes. Stokes spreads it down the far side for Barham. Barham held up on the edge of the area by Dimitri. Barham shoots just wide of David Martin's right hand upright. The goalkeeper had all his angles right, and I fancy would have made the stop had the shot been on target. But much like Fylde at the weekend, Glenn Pennyfather, Aldershot get forward in numbers very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the front three. They're all lively, aren't they? They're all sharp. We've seen all 3 of them cause Blues problems already this evening, and he's opening exchanges, and that's the last thing Jason will want to get in a foot race with one of those 3 on a one-on-one situation. But he did well to hold it up, even though he got his shot away. Barham on that left-hand side, right-footed shot past David Martin's near post. But you can see already those front 3, they've got to be dealt with, and the Blues have got to be organised at the back to deal with them.
They start the evening in 11th position, Aldershot, with their 14 points, but they're under pressure now. Lovely little back heel. Jack Bridge breaks into the box and tries to pick out 3 yellow shirts who are all converging on it, and in the end it's cleared from under the crossbar by the massed ranks of Aldershot defenders, and Southend United pick themselves up a throw-in the attacking third. Lovely interplay down this near side.
Yeah, lovely little ball, wasn't it, from Jason Dimitri, that stuck Jack Bridge in behind down that left-hand side, and he just felt that Jack needed to pick out somebody there. There was 3 Blues players in the box, and he picked out the Aldershot defender. Just, when you get those opportunities, Glenn, that's a golden one as well. I mean, he's under no pressure, driving towards the goal. Just pick out one of your players, and unfortunately he couldn't do it on that occasion.
That's a foul on Callum Powell, is it? No, referee's happy that it was no more than a defensive throw-in for the home side, who've had an eventful last 40 years or so. Went into administration, relegated out of the league. Went into administration, went bust, reformed in 1992. 16 years later, they were back as a Football League club. But then they were relegated back to the National League in 2013 and went into administration as well then, but was saved. They have actually been relegated from this division back in 2019. They finished in the relegation places, should have gone down, but Gateshead's financial issues kept Aldershot in this division. Since then they've been fighting a little bit of a rearguard battle to stay at this level, but they do look relatively settled this season and look good for at least mid-table, if not slightly higher than that. They're bringing the ball up towards the halfway line now. This is Widrington into the feet of Talage in the Southend United half. No pressure on Talage, allowed to turn, and he picks the ball out down this near side for Barham. Barham clips it in. Talage had made the run into the box, but misdirected attempted cross, and David Martin, all in grey, is able to come out and claim. 7.5 gone, goalless on BBC Essex between Aldershot Town and Southend United.
Yeah, nice little bit of movement, wasn't it, between Talage and Stokes on that occasion. Stokes had gone long, he run past Talage. Talage just come short. No Blues players come with him, and he's just been allowed as they've stolen the ball.
Yeah, Powell dispossessed far too easily there by Minoga, but fortunately Minoga then failed to pick out his man, and the ball is cleared away by Southend United. York have taken the lead against Barnet in the National League. York City 1, Barnet 0. Barnet third at the start of play. York, you fancy, will begin to go from strength to strength under Neil Ardley. Got a good win at the weekend late on against Woking, and they've got some cash behind them as well as the North Yorkshire side. Not exactly what you can say about Southend United at the moment, but that might change. Fingers crossed it does. They have the ball in the centre circle with Kensdale. Kensdale allowed to travel a long way into the Aldershot half, spreads it out to the near side to Hussein. Hussein checks inside the challenge of Widrington, up to the edge of the box, tries to work a little 1-2 with Powell. I thought he might go for goal there, Hussein. It opened up for him. Aldershot defending in numbers, get the ball away. They tried to hit Southend on the break over on that far side, but it's cut out, and Cav Miley can collect and just calm things down for Southend once again.
I thought we should definitely, sorry Glenn, I thought we should have definitely gone for goal. He's cut inside, he's great feet to originally find his space. He's then dropped his shoulder, gone past the second one. He's coming in middle of goals onto his right foot. Take a shot there, surely. I mean, he's tried to play a little give and go with Harry Cardwell, and it's been given away, but have a shot there, Noor Hussein.
Dimitri's ball forward ahead of Powell, who's well marshalled there by Minoga, who was on loan with Aldershot last season from Portsmouth and rejoined them again in the summer for the season. Just shepherds it back to goalkeeper Van Stappershoff, and he's forced to turn back the goalkeeper once again. Is Minoga under pressure there from Powell? Just going back to that promotion back in 2008 when Aldershot won the title with 101 points. They were managed by Gary Waddock, who had that short spell with Southend United as assistant and then as caretaker boss as well. A relatively thankless task, I think we'll all agree at the time. Up to the halfway line comes the ball, and it's collected neatly and tidily on that occasion by Glover. Southend deal with it and win themselves a throw in. Kensdale, again under no pressure whatsoever, brings the ball out of defence, out to the far side to Coker. Coker forced to check back and then works it up to Scott Morris onto Taylor. Taylor's ball down the far side is out of play, and it goes away for a throw-in. But both sides want to be very deliberate and conscious in the way they're doing things.
I think it's quite. I thought it would be an open game, just purely from the fact the amount of goals both sides have scored so far this season, and looking at the way they're setting up, they're quite happy, as you just said. Ali Kensdale, acres of space, lots of space for him to move into. Because what the Talage and Barham were just splitting, so they're kind of trying to refuse the ball to Jason Dimitri or to Harry Taylor and allow Kensdale to come through the middle, where they probably feel they've got their biggest strength centrally. But what else is happening in the middle of the park? And he's doing it quite well if they can get him on the ball. We've seen it a couple of times. His left-hand side is Noor Hussein. He's splitting, opening his body up and coming out wide left, which is opening the whole pitch up for Kensdale. He's just got to make sure that he makes the right decisions with the ball, Ollie Kensdale, if he's allowed to travel that far.
Now, Women's Nations League International this evening as well. Serena Wiegman, the England head coach, returning to her native Netherlands. Well, England trail by 1-0 in that Nations League match this evening. By all reports, the goal was quite a way offside, but there's no VAR. You know, they do play football without VAR these days. As Southend put the ball into the box, but it had already gone out of play for a throw-in, so it'll be a defensive throw for Aldershot Town, including this evening. We seem to be managing without VAR quite well on our own.
It's amazing, isn't it? See? But nice little move down the right-hand side involving 3 Blues players there, and it just needs that little bit of quality, just that little bit of care with that final layoff coming from Callum Powell. He just got too much on it, and it was out of play as Gus Scott Morris was just striding forward to whip it into the penalty area, but unfortunately just went out of play.
Hartlepool 0, second place Solihull Moors 1, also this evening in the National League. Full schedule of games, 8 o'clock start tonight involving the leaders, Chesterfield away at Rochdale. We're heading to Rochdale at the weekend, their first season at this level after relegation at the end of last season. Hussein plays the ball inside the full-back, looking there for Bridge, slightly too much on it though. Bridge won't catch up with that, but Aldershot had got a couple of defenders tracking Jack Bridge, who was caught out on a number of occasions at the weekend. Paul Clark spotted it straight away and said Fyle were playing. They were just pinging the ball over Jack Bridge because he likes to play high up the pitch, so his threat was sort of nullified for much of the match at the weekend, and Southend will like to see more of Jack Bridge tonight. But Aldershot playing nicely through the thirds, and this is Stokes, beats off one challenge, links up on the edge of the area with Talage. Stokes helping it on one more over on that far side, looking to pick out Barham. It was cleared away by Southend United, but it almost opened up for the home side. 13 minutes gone, it's 0-0. Now Barham on the edge of the area wins the ball. I thought he was offside. Talage definitely was and didn't make a move for the ball. Barham did, and that's why the flag went up. But a few hearts in mouths just for a few moments there. Southend take the free kick short, take it quickly, and we get moving again.
Yeah, great tracking as well, just in that play from Aldershot going forward by Gus Scott Morris, just making sure he sees his attacker out and making sure he dealt with the ball. We're just going back to what you were saying about Jack Bridge getting caught out, and I think that will help having Jason Dimitri behind him tonight, having that more experienced defender rather than the midfield player of Cav Miley in behind him, where might not have given him as much information as he's needed.
Flag goes up for offside. Referee says play on because Minoga has made an awful lot of ground deep into the Southend United half. Spread out to this near side to Glover. 2 men wait for the cross, and a third joining now. Cross is driven in, but it's blocked at source by Jason Demetriou at the expense of the first corner of the evening, which goes to the home side.
Yeah, I thought Barham did Blues a favour actually, because if he turned in, Glenn, he had a sight of goal. He didn't. He turned out, come out wide to Glover, and in the end it's good defending by Jason Demetriou at full stretch to stop that cross coming in. But more defending for Blues to do now from this corner.
We're in the 15th minute, first corner of the evening to the home side, and it's Glover who won it, who comes across to take it, writing the theme tune and singing the theme tune. Right-footed outswinger, plenty of numbers in there. Talage at the back post, one of the more physical looking players. Harris is in there as well. It's taken short, fed back to Glover, level with the edge of the Southend 18-yard box. In turn, he lays it back into the path of Frost, whose cross is blocked for a corner, and I think he's caught the underside of Callum Powell's boot there, and both players hobbling away.
Yeah, it's the last thing Kevin will want to see. Callum Powell now on his back. I mean, he hobbled away from that challenge. Both players down. The Aldershot lad is now up, but still limping away. And Callum Powell looks in a little bit of pain as John Gowans, the physio for Blues, rushes down the touchline.
I think Frost played the cross in and kicked the bottom of Callum Powell's foot, but Powell just seems to be manoeuvring his ankle around, so maybe he was just slightly off balance when he was kicked there. Accidental. And Frost picks himself up and hobbles away. And as we know, with the thinness of the boots these days, you kick the underside of someone's foot, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Used to hurt with the clodhoppers I used to wear, let alone anything else. Right, second corner of the game. Neither player required assistance, so we've still got the full complement of 11 aside on. It's going to be a left-footed in-swinger this time, this corner kick from this near side, and lots more pressure on goalkeeper David Martin as well. There's a real crowd scene right under his crossbar there. Danger moments for Southend, 15 and a half gone. Floated into the danger zone, flicked away by Noor Hussein. He gets the final touch there under pressure from Minoga. Aldershot recycle it out to this near side, flung in once again, headed away from the edge of the box, and Southend might have an opportunity to break away themselves, but Harfield it was who played the cross in, and the left back battles back and plays it back to Van Stappershoff, who plays the ball down this near side, and this time Barham is onside, but it hits him on the back as he tried to gauge the flight of the ball, and it's helped back to goalkeeper Martin once again for Southend United.
Yeah, I think Callum Powell struggling here. Glenn, that ball went forward and he tried to latch onto it, tried a little turn and then winced and hobbled away from the challenge. I mean, he's walking in the middle of the pitch at the moment. He's indicated to the bench that he's okay, but he doesn't look at the most mobile at present.
I say, if he's kicked, if his bottom of his foot's been kicked, you hope it's just an impact. But if it has just sort of overextended the ankle or twisted the ankle, then that is more problematic. It's a throw-in for Southend United, 0-0 here on BBC Essex. Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennefather with you at the Rec. And it's a long throw opportunity for the Blues, just beyond the midway point of the Aldershot half. Gus Scott Morris with it, and coming short to collect the ball is Coker. Flung into the box now by Scott Morris, but Van Stappershoff, the goalkeeper, well over 6'5", catches it and bowls the ball out down this near side. Slightly miscontrolled by Glover, so he just has to check his run when he was in flight. And so it's back on the halfway line now. Widrington angles the ball down this near side for the run of Barham. Barham on the apex of the 18-yard area, turns down this near side, low ball into the box. Dealt with it in the near post comfortably by Demetriou, brings it out of defence, then plays the ball to Bridge, and Barham sprints back and puts Bridge under pressure, and is back in the 18-yard area now with Ollie Kensdale. Floodlights burning bright on this clear, very pleasant evening as we bring in National League action. And Southend again quite content to have the ball in and around the edge of their own box and just settle themselves down once again. And Kensdale this time is just pressed a little bit higher up the pitch by Barham, so has to go sideways to the player coach, Jason Demetriou. Kensdale looking to hit the angle over on the far side, chested down into the path of Coker, who's got Miley in support, goes back into his own half for Kensdale. Southend just holding on to the ball and looking to pick their way through. Aldershot have got everyone back inside their own half. It's with Demetriou back inside into the centre circle for Kensdale, out wide for Bridge. A little bit of space to move into here, just left momentarily, but then he's double teamed on this near side, but still has possession, tries to poke it into the path of Powell, who made the run in behind, but Minoga is there to cover, and cleared the ball down this near side. It's curled out of play and back in. Maybe a throw in for Southend United.
Yeah, just looking at the way the pattern of the game is going, Glenn. I mean, we spoke about Cav Miley a lot at the top of the show and about how important it was to get him back into midfield and how influential he is. He's actually finding it quite difficult to get in the game at the moment because Stokes is, although I said looks like Powell, it looks like Powell's having to come off. Jack Wood is readied himself, so it's such a shame for Callum Powell. It's clearly not his groin that he was struggling with. He's come out of that challenge that happened a short while ago. But yeah, I think Cav is just struggling to get into the game and have any influence over it at the moment because they're kind of cancelling each out, him and Stokes. He's dealing with Stokes when they're out of possession, but Stokes is doing a job I didn't expect him to do in terms of defensive work, and he's making sure that Cav Miley can't get on the ball and push Blues forward. But this is going to be a blow for Kevin with Callum Powell.
Yeah, John Gowans is out there and he's just checking with Callum Powell again. He's flexed that ankle around, and obviously there's going to be a conversation there saying, look, 20 minutes gone, do you want to give it another couple of minutes, or is that going to be it? And yeah, Callum Powell just wiping the perspiration from his face with the front of that Southend United shirt, and just gets a slap on the back from John Gowan. So I wonder whether he is just going to come back on and give it a couple of minutes. Jack Wood has gone back into the dugout. The fourth official's coming back with the board, and yeah, I think Callum Powell's just going to give it another go here. It's actually the right knee.
I think it's his knee rather than his ankle.
He's also looking at was the knee, and then I think he just sort of pointed to John Gowans that the pain and the problem was further up. So I think he's going to come back on and give it a go, but it certainly doesn't look good from a Southend United perspective as far as Callum Powell is concerned. Restored to the starting lineup this evening. He's back on the pitch. Ball's headed out of play for Ollie Kensdale. Just wonder, speaking of Aldershot as well, Glenn, you were talking about Josh Stokes doing a bit more defensive work this evening. I wonder whether that is maybe why they've gone with Jack Barham this evening, and that he might offer the outlet if Stokes is going to have to sit a bit deeper. Barham, maybe more than Thomas, can offer a bit more.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's a live wire, isn't he, Barham, and he's quite adept at putting players under pressure, and he's happy running the channels. You can see him do that. He's made 2 or 3 runs where he's got no joy, but he's had one or two opportunities where he has got in, especially the left-hand channel of Blues, Aldershot's right-hand side, and he's a willing lad to keep making those runs. But certainly Stokes is doing a job for his team tonight.
21 gone on BBC Essex. Aldershot Town 0, Southend United 0. The Blues have possession, and good possession in the centre of midfield as well, and a chance to really get themselves up towards the edge of that box. Work down the far side for Gus Scott Morris, puts the low cross in, travels a long way, opportunity for his sin from a very narrow angle, puts the cross in. Van Stappershoff palms the ball away and thumped wide of goal via a deflection by Callum Powell. I think Southend think there might be a hand involved there as it's deflected wide, but it's a corner kick and no more than that. Good movement from Southend United. Goalkeeper's flapped at it, and in the end it's deflected wide for the corner.
Yeah, I thought he looked really safe up until that occasion, but he certainly did flap at that one, Glenn. He's palmed it out into the middle of his penalty area. Callum Powell's had the shot, and there was some big questions asked about the penalty. Harry Taylor's now going to get booked, Glenn, for dissent, because the amount of chat he's given to the referee for that decision, which he felt was a penalty. But the referee, I must say, the referee was staring straight at it, so there was nothing given, but Harry Taylor's got himself in the book.
Unnecessary really from Harry Taylor. I mean, the position Southend United are in at the moment, and we don't know how long it's going to go on for. Last thing they need is players picking up needless yellow cards and heading up towards suspension territory. So first corner of the game for Southend United as we head into the second quarter of this match. From this near side, right-footed, pinged into that near post area, flicked away and cleared further away by Jack Barham, helping out his defensive line, the former Maidstone man. Jack Briggs, the corner taker, putting Stokes under pressure, and Stokes can do no more than chest the ball straight out of play for a throw-in to the Blues, who can keep the pressure on here. Goals so far in the National League tonight: York 1, Barnet 0, and Hartlepool 0, Solihull Moors 1. Goalless we are here. Long throw opportunity for the Blues, and Scott Morris has come across to the left-hand side to hurl this one into the Aldershot 18-yard area. All in yellow this evening, Southend United. There's an option short, but it goes long into the near post towards Carver. Travels a long way, and the goalkeeper, struggling at the second time of asking, tips the ball away. I mean, had it bounced into the back of the net, it would have gone straight in from the throw-in, so wouldn't have counted. And in the end, the assistant has flagged for something or other, and it goes behind, and it's going to be Oh, is that a free kick or a goal kick? But the goalkeeper certainly seemed to get the final touch. Whether someone at the far post has got a touch for Southend, it matters not. It is a goal kick and play resumes.
Yeah, well, it was Jack Bridge coming. It looked like, for all intents and purposes, it was going to be a tap-in, because once again the goalkeeper's had a flap at that, and I thought he just got a hand to it to push it away from Bridge. But as you said, it might just have nicked off Jack Bridge. But Blues certainly enjoying a period of pressure.
Still 0-0. Aldershot building from the back. They swing it up to the halfway line towards Stokes, headed away by Miley covering his man. A bit of head tennis ensues. Coker helps it on, volleyed forward up towards Cardwell, looking to help out Powell there, but they got in each other's way. Kensdale heads away a long ball down the middle from the home side, and they'll settle it down once again with Minoga. Minoga angles the ball into Talage. It's been quiet so far this evening. Chests it down in turn to Glover, back to Minoga, deep inside the Aldershot half. He goes sideways to Harris, and Harris out to the far side to Ollie Harfield in his second season now with Aldershot. And then Glover, and given the ball away, and it's won in central midfield, and Cardwell picks it up, but in trying to link up with his man, gives possession away. But again, Aldershot want to play out from defence, and they're put under pressure. Miley this time getting a challenge in, and getting an important challenge in on the edge of the box, because his challenge loops up off a defender and goes away for a corner.
Yeah, they're just starting to get that high press going, aren't they, Blues? They're making one or two mistakes, Aldershot, which is giving Blues the incentive to push players on, get on their front foot, get on shoulders, and that's the first time we've seen Miley, what we spoke about, read the game extremely well. We see that opportunity to nick the ball. He did it on the edge of the box, and he's won his team a corner.
Second corner of the game for Southend United. It's swung in by Miley. Cardwell's there, can't quite get the header. Scooped towards goal from just inside the 18-yard box, and it's just over the crossbar. It was actually a decent opportunity for Southend United. Cardwell made a nuisance of himself, got the nod down, and it just bounced on the edge of the area. But in the event, the shot from Gus Scott-Morris with his left foot goes just over the crossbar.
Yeah, he never really got any purchase on it. It was like a loopy shot, and it looked like it could possibly go into the top corner, but unfortunately for Gus Scott-Morris, it went over the bar.
Here's Powell coming back from an offside position.
He seems to have recovered, Glenn, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was sensible, wasn't he? He had a long chat with John Gowans, and Gowans seemed to intimate towards the bench that, look, get Jack Wood ready, but had a long conversation, and Powell just sort of nodded his head, giving it a couple of minutes, and does seem to have run off whatever it was that he'd picked up. Taylor battling over on the far side, wins possession for Southend United, and via Barham, he goes out for throw into the Blues inside their own half. One win from 5 on their travels so far this season for Southend. A 2-0 victory away at Dagenham and Redbridge. Cardwell now cushions the ball up to the edge of the area towards Powell, and Hussein had made a dart from deep as well. But Aldershot are able to clear their lines, and they win it, and they come on the charge down this near side. But who is it who's covering Jack Barham there? It's Cav Miley, tracking from one side to the other and winning possession for Southend United. And that is what they've missed, that energy, those legs, that little bit of zip in central midfield. Both up the pitch and in a defensive position as well. And Southend inside their own territory. Coker just manages to evade a sliding challenge in central midfield. That was a little bit shaky from the Blues, but they work into the near side for Hussein. Hussein on one more to Dimitriou. They break into the Aldershot town half. Hussein now tracked by Glover. Dimitriou hugging the left hand side touchline. Level with the edge of the penalty area. Back to Hussein. Opens up from 20 yards out. Hussein thought about the shot and checks back to Dimitriou once again. Dimitriou tries to work a little one down towards the byline for Cardwell, and it's cleared away as it didn't reach Harry Cardwell, Blues leading scorer, and then Kensdale off balance puts the ball straight out of play for a throw in.
Second time, Glenn, looking at it as an ex-midfield player, you know, your eyes widen as you dip inside and that space opens up for you. What's the worst can happen? It can end up in the car park, but the best thing could happen, it could nestle in that top corner. But unless you buy the ticket, you're never going to know. Noor Hussein, 2 opportunities to have shots, twice he's refused them.
He's got a couple of goals this season, Noor Hussein as well.
He strikes the ball so well.
He's got a certain Mr. Bentley and a certain Mr. Mayer as members of his coaching staff, who are midfielders of distinction themselves, and might just want to have a little word in his ear, say, look, you know, we're not going to penalise you, you've done the work, you've checked inside, you're 20 yards out, there's a clear sight of goal.
Take your chance, pull the trigger.
Talage on the halfway line for the home side to Jones. Jones is the right side central defender, does get forward down this near side. They do switch it around, Aldershot, headed away by Gus Scott-Morris. And Minoga just goes inside and it allows Jones to get up on the right-hand side. They do interchange quite well. 3 or 4 times they've done that with Aaron Jones, another former Kings Lynn man, incidentally, who Tommy Widdrington brought here. Thrown down the touchline over on the far side for Barham. Just holds it up on the byline. Keeps the ball in play. They recycle it. Chance to put the ball in the box. Over the head of Talage, and it won't reach Jones at the far post either. I think Jack Bridge was comfortable where Jones was from his starting position, and he goes behind for the goal kick. 0-0.
Yeah, it was. You're quite right. It was an excellent starting position by Jack Bridge. He got himself in that body shape where he could see what Jones was doing, and he could see where the ball was coming from, and he was quite comfortable just to allow it, the whipped-in cross at the far post, to allow him to run across him and out for a goal kick.
Equaliser for Barnet, 1-1 now away at York City, and AFC Fylde, side we saw beat Southend at the weekend, 1 apiece with Boreham Wood. A couple of quick fire goals there. There's a nice midweek trip for you. Boreham Wood to Fylde, up on the Fylde coast. I mean, it's further than Fleetwood, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll be back Friday morning.
Yeah, just in time. Cleared away by Martin for Southend United. Mind you, heaven only knows what time we'll be back this evening, because you know there's going to be road closures on the way back. And the A3 wasn't the cleverest, let's be honest about it, coming down this afternoon. Mind you, not helped by me being late, but we don't need to go into that.
No, we won't.
Glenn's had blow by blow of that already. Ball fed down the far side for a chance for the Blues to put the ball into the box towards Cardwell, headed away again. Miley putting pressure on Stokes. Stokes' clearance is blocked up in the air. Gus Scott-Morris has been climbed all over on that far side. Referee says play on, you've still got possession. Albeit possession which is being forced back into your own half, and this is Harry Taylor for Southend United over that sickness bug that kept him out of the weekend. Fires the ball forward, comfortably dealt with, but volleyed away straight to Coker for Southend United. Twists, turns, looks one way, looks the other, and in the event the only option is behind him with Ollie Kensdale. Kensdale brings the ball up to the midway point of the Aldershot town half an hour gone, still goalless. Coker out for Scott-Morris once again, cuts inside Gus Scott-Morris, left-footed, feeds the ball in straight to Van Stappershoff's midriff, and the goalkeeper, tall, rangy goalkeeper, will get Aldershot starting once again. Came from Bristol Rovers in the summer.
Just needs to relax Gus Scott-Morris. He's done the hard work, he's coming, he's got his head up, then just relax. You haven't got to rush across on your less favourable foot.
Lost possession of Aldershot, seized upon by Bridge, who's fouled by Widdrington as he lays the ball off. Referee says let's play on, you've got an advantage. Kensdale out to Demetriou, seeing more and more of it on this near side now, and space opens up, slips the ball in behind, chance for Cardwell! Just wide of goal, across the face of the goalkeeper, who Cardwell says has got a hand to it. The referee gave a goal kick, the assistant gave a goal kick. The referee now said corner.
Oh my goodness, what are they doing? The assistant referee got it completely wrong. I think the referee knew it was a save. But what a super move down this left-hand side. Jace Demetriou, similar to what's been happening to Ollie Kensdale, as he drove inside with the ball, the pitch has opened up for him. Noor Hussein's movement out left. It's Ollie Coker's movement pulling out right, fanning out as midfield players, opening up their body, and the middle of the pitch just opened up. And it was a lovely straight ball for a diagonal run into the left channel, into the penalty area from Harry Cardwell. Let it run across his body, got his shot away with his left foot across the face of the big goalkeeper, but he managed to just stretch out a hand to give Blues this corner.
Best chance of the evening. Third corner for Southend, in towards Cardwell via Miley. Flicked out to this near side. Good stop by the goalkeeper. He's very, very tall and got down really well and used the full extension to tip the ball around the post. Southend are keeping the ball alive in and around the edge of the Aldershot box. Fed out wide now to Hussein. Hussein checks back on his right foot. Still got support there. And it's Bridge. Bridge has got support in turn from Coker. 4 yellow shirts still in the box. Coker feeds it in now low to the near post, and Scott-Morris just can't bring it under control. And it's shepherded behind. Good job done by Minoga. And goal kick to Aldershot Town with 12.5 minutes to go until the break, 0-0.
Yeah, but Gus Scott-Morris down on his knees now. I think he might have just caught a little bit of impact there with that challenge. I think he would have probably been better off, better employed just to let that run, that cross that came in, whipped to the near post. He actually tried to control it, and it was a difficult ball to control. If he'd have just stepped over it, that might have caused a few more problems if the ball was coming across the 6-yard line out to that far post area. But hopefully Gus is going to be all right. He's sat down in the middle of the penalty area at present.
Gives the players the chance to come come across and take on board some liquids. Goals elsewhere to tell you about. Kidderminster Harriers 0, Oldham Athletic 1. Oldham won the first game under Steve Thompson, and looks like they might win another one this evening. Kidderminster struggling on their return to this level thus far. Started the evening 1 place and 1 point better off than Southend United. And Wealdstone 1, Woking 0. Woking made the playoffs last season, up in 8th at the start of play this evening. Beaten in the last minute by York at the weekend. Gus Scott Morris is back on his feet, and Callum Powell just flexing as well, just checking that right knee is still okay, having taken the bang a little bit earlier on. So Scott Morris will have to go off, having received attention from John Gowans, and we'll get play back underway once again. Everyone's had a drink, everyone's happy, apart from Gus Scott Morris at the moment.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he slightly tweaked his medial, Callum Powell, just the shape of just thinking back to the challenge where he drove through the ball, didn't he? And just down here with that challenge, whether he's opened his knee up a little bit, and there might be a slight tweak on that tendon.
We missed the cricket earlier on today, incidentally. The third one-day international. England were heading to something like about 800, I think, against Ireland in the 50-over international, but Ben Duckett got to a century. There was a massive downpour in Bristol and the game got abandoned. Essex, meanwhile, chasing an unlikely title now against Northamptonshire. Northamptonshire 279 for 6 at the close of day 1 of the final county championship round of matches this season. Commentary resumes on the BBC Sport website and app from 10:30 tomorrow morning. Long ball spread down this near side for Jack Barham to give chase to. He's got support from Aaron Jones, who overrunning the challenge was Bridge. That allows Barham to give it to Jones. Jones on the edge of the area, slips it sideways for Widrington. Far too much on that from Theo Widrington. He was just trying to lay it into the channel, possibly for Barham, possibly for Stokes. Way too much on it, and he goes behind for a goal kick, and Southend breathe again.
Yeah, it wasn't the best ball laid back to him by, I think was it Glover who had the ball, wrapped it into Widrington. You could see what he was trying to do. He was just trying to help it back into that space for Barham as he's coming back off the line on this left-hand side, but far too much on it.
Rochdale 1, Chesterfield 1 in the 8 o'clock start this evening. Chesterfield, the leaders, have taken the lead through Armando Dobra from Colchester Loney. Rochdale have levelled up 1 apiece there. They've started slowly, Rochdale, but look as though they might just be getting to grips with the level. Lovely work by Minoga at the back. Feeds it to Glover. Glover over the halfway line in turn for Stokes. Stokes tries to go back inside to Glover where space had opened up, but just caught the heels of Noor Hussein, who picks up possession for Southend United, and the Blues have it once again on the edge of their own penalty area and then fed out to Demetriou.
Yeah, not the best decision by Stokes on that occasion. I thought we could have just played it wide to Barham and kept the pressure on Blues down this right hand side, but tried the more difficult pass into inside, and unfortunately for him it did catch Noor Hussein's heels, and Blues were able to mop up.
Now over the halfway line from Hussein to Demetriou. Demetriou's got Cardwell running in behind here, goalkeeper's favourite. Slow to react, Van Stappershoff, but there was too much pace on the ball, so he got time to come out and collect. Rolls it out to Minoga. Minoga into Stokes. Again, Cav Miley's right there on the Aldershot youngster, and Southend win possession back. Hussein's brought to ground by a late one from Jones. Referee says play on as Jack Bridge hares down this near side touchline, down to the byline. Low ball across the face of goal. Minoga gets a touch on it and shovels it away from goal. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a yellow card when players stop once again. But meantime, Aldershot have played the ball down the far side. Should be dealt with by Harry Taylor. It is. Thought about the back pass, thought about clearing it away, and in the end it went out of play off him for a throw-in. And indeed, Mr. McNamara does drag play back just momentarily to show the yellow card for the challenge on Noor Hussein by Aaron Jones.
Yeah, there was no malice in it, was there? But it was a yellow card. It was just enough away from Noor to entice the fullback in for the challenge, Jones, and Noor just nipped in, just got a toe in before Jones got there, and Jones just clattered into him. Noor went up in the air, no harm done, but definite yellow card.
Equaliser for England's women in that Nations League game. Netherlands 1, England 1, Rousseau with the goal. 0-0 here still on BBC Essex. Here is Aaron Jones, just caution, chance to put the ball in the box, slips it to the overlapping Minoga instead. Minoga's cross at the near post, not the cleverest of clearance from Demetriou. Recycle back to Jones, who strikes and thuds into the back of Cav Miley, miscontrolled by Glover. Minoga tries to win it back, Miley again slides in, keeps it alive for Southend, keeps them safe, and then Hussein just tidies up, gives it to Cav Miley, and Miley again. Shaw under pressure there from Stokes. They've really seen a lot of each other this evening, haven't they? Josh Stokes and Cav Miley, and the Blues have it on the edge of their own penalty area, Kensdale. into Dimitri to the halfway line for Cardwell. Lovely hold up play from Cardwell, brings Minoga out alongside him, so there's a hole behind if Southend can use it, but slightly slow in recycling the ball. Hussein to Dimitri. Look at the space for Jason Dimitri, 25 yards from goal, slips it to Powell, across the face of goal, just ahead of Harry Cardwell, and Aldershot are able to clear once again.
Yeah, there was a reluctance again of his Barham on that occasion. The front three, Stokes is doing a great job on Miley, but the other two, Talage and Barham, as soon as any of Blue's back three step in with the ball, we've seen Kensdale do it, and Jason Dimitri now on 2 or 3 occasions, they're reluctant to do any tracking back, so consequently it opens up, and Harry Cardwell's made 2 or 3 runs in behind, is it Mononga at the back there, and he doesn't know what to do with Cardwell. He's not seeing him, he's not opening his shoulder up. There can't be great communication from his partner in the central defence back there, and Cardwell and Powell on that occasion as well are going to have an opportunity in that channel sooner rather than later.
Still goalless on BBC Essex. It's been a watchable game, the best opportunity arriving for Harry Cardwell 13 minutes before the break. His shot across the face of goal tipped around the post by the home goalkeeper Jordi van Stappershoff. Here's Minoga under pressure from Sin into central midfield for Glover. Glover turns it round the corner, and this time they have bypassed Miley, and Stokes has got space to move into, slips it into the edge of the area, might fall for Tolage, no. 3 or 4 yellow shirts just slam the door shut, and between them are able to smuggle the ball clear, and Miley can get the Blues up the pitch, but they just steady themselves instead. It's back to Coker, and Coker back to the always waiting Kensdale on the edge of the penalty area.
Yeah, that's over enthusiasm on that occasion for Cav Miley. He's chased Glover when he couldn't really get any pressure on the ball on his own. He's just nicked it round the corner out of the space that Cav's come out of and into Stokes, and it's the first opportunity we've really seen for Stokes to have a run at Blues defence, but thankfully they mopped it up, and in the end it was Cav that got back and dealt with it.
Angled in behind by Widrington towards Barham. Demetriou under pressure, back to goalkeeper Martin, can't pick it up, so volleys it unceremoniously up to the halfway line, but it's dealt with in turn by Kean Harris, one of the centre halves, into the centre circle for Glover, space for Glover, clips the ball over the far side, it's a wonderful ball as well, to the byline, square to the far post, just over the head of Barham, and Jack Bridge picks up possession for Blues, under pressure from Aaron Jones, just needs to get this one clear, and that is exactly what he does. It was Tyler Frost with the cross from the far side, just over Barham's head, and eventually Southend are able to clear their lines, and Van Stappershoff has it outside his penalty area up the far end of the field. Demetriou lets the ball bounce, gets enough on it, volleyed away by Kensdale. This is Hussein. Hussein's got ahead of Minoga there. And then Bridge, just inside the Aldershot half, goes back to his goalkeeper Martin, Glenn Pennyfather.
Yeah, lovely neat feet, wasn't it, from Noor Hussein. He's got such great ability in those tight situations. He works the ball, quick feet, and he probably had 2 or 3 Aldershot players around him with about half a metre of space to work in, but he managed to keep possession and just roll it out and keep the ball for his team.
Still goalless, heading up towards half-time on BBC Essex. Victoria will have all the half-time details. Chance for you to have your say if you want to as well in this first half. Here's Miley carrying the ball high up the field. Just checks back, gives it to Bridge just to stop. Just to hold up possession. Into the edge of the area for Hussein. Hussein opens his body, checks back on that right foot as he likes to do, and invites Demetriou forward. Demetriou opens up for the shot, driving, always rising over the crossbar, but Jason Demetriou's not scared of having a shot from distance.
Quite right as well. That one's gone over the bar, but at least he's had a go, because Blues have been in those sort of promising positions, and obviously we know Noor hasn't taken the opportunity to shoot, but Jason did, got too much on it underneath it, and it's high over the Van Steppenhorst crossbar, but nonetheless still an opportunity for Jason.
81333 if you want to text your thoughts at the break. Start your message with the word Essex at BBC Essex Sport on whatever they call it these days. And you can email essex.sport@bbc.co.uk or drop us a WhatsApp. Contact details on the way. But Blues are defending over on the far side. Fed to the byline. Chance to cut it back, maybe towards Frost, maybe towards Barham. From Talage. Blocked though by Southend United. And there'll be a corner to Aldershot Town. 08000 321 333 if you want to drop us a WhatsApp as well.
Yeah, good challenge, wasn't it, by Harry Taylor, just on the byline. But Blues have got some defending to do here. They haven't had to defend too many corners in recent times. They've just got to make sure that they're taking on their responsibilities. Just watching these.
Yeah, Glover with the corner, taking it short. Chance to put the cross in from a better angle, they feel. Allowed to bounce in the box. Talage's first touch is terrible. Southend clear the ball away. Recycled by Harfield. Again, pinging the ball in. Not enough elevation on it. Who is it? Miley heads the ball clear for Southend United. Aldershot keep it alive just inside the Blues half. Kean Harris plays the ball round the corner for Widrington in a bit of space. Out wide for Stokes, level with the penalty area. Goes back in turn to Harris, back to Stokes, turns it into the path of Widrington. Little 1-2. Stokes gets the angle of the left-footed ball wrong. Headed away for Southend United. And volleyed further clear by Miley. This is Minoga on the halfway line. Southend just on their heels momentarily here. Doesn't seem too much energy. They don't want to press too high. Happy for Aldershot to have the ball inside their own half. 90 seconds of normal time to go at the end of this first period. This is Aaron Jones, the only man to collect a yellow card so far this evening. To Harris. Harris across the back line for Harfield. Harfield over to the far side for Harris, who's momentarily operating at left back. Inside it goes for Glover. Working it nicely, working Southend from side to side here. Aldershot being patient with possession. Although these two just knocking it between themselves aren't going to get anywhere. They almost want Callum Powell, I feel, to come and step in and press and maybe create the space, but Callum Powell's not going to do that.
No, and he can't do it on his own. You know, that there'll be a trap. There'll be the time where there's the opportunity to do that, whether they go backwards with the ball or it's a bad touch, whatever it may be. There will be an indicator for them that they're all going to press, but you can't press when they're in good possession with their head up.
Harris into Glover. They're all interchanging here, Aldershot's players. You've got Jones playing up on the right-hand side on right wing at the moment. Harris has stepped to the right-hand side of central defence. They're playing the ball into the edge of the area, and a shot from distance beats David Martin. They worked it so very, very nicely to Laurent Talage, and around about 22 yards from goal, he's allowed to get a shot away. David Martin doesn't see it, and it flies into the bottom corner of the net. Talking about these Aldershot players interchanging, Talage came a little bit deeper there to collect, turns and shoots into the bottom corner of the net, and Southend United trail by a goal to nil.
Yeah, well, we was talking about the pressure. You can't get pressure when they're playing on the halfway line. As soon as that ball transfers into your final third, Glenn, they've got to be tight and there's got to be pressure on the ball. What Blues were, they were too lax. They was allowing the passing to go on in front of them. Suddenly the penetrating pass has come through. It's gone past the midfield into Talage, who was probably about 25 yards out of goal, but you've got to be tight there. You can't not have somebody right behind you or on your shoulder to deal with that. They didn't. Talage has turned sharply, and you have to say it's a super clean strike and give Aldershot a lead.
Meantime, Southend are on the attack themselves now. Can they strike back really quickly here with Callum Powell? No, he can't keep the ball in play. Goes behind for a goal kick. Just mention those players interchanging. Glover, who's playing on the right-hand side of the front three for Aldershot, them acting as the pivot there, and Stokes came deeper as well. They've got Jones on the right-hand side, all interchanging, and Southend just almost sort of just ball watching when that ball went into Talage, and they've allowed him to turn and shoot and get the shot away.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's why you need big voices at the back, Glenn. You've got to make sure you go tight. You make sure you're out there, you're dealing with this. It wasn't, and it was very lax all round the pitch. Yes, they couldn't get pressure on the ball where it was on the halfway line, but as soon as that ball goes forward, there must be marking, must be tight, and there must be pressure.
It's interesting as well, because some of the Aldershot fans were getting a bit frustrated in front of us with the amount of possession their side were having, but the sterile possession they were having. That's a mistake inside the Blues half now. Powell picks up possession. But they can't go herring forward here, Blues. Didn't actually see the board go up, to be honest with you, for the time added on, because the goal went in, I think, just as the board was put up. They did announce it, but that's almost sort of a minor statistic, to be perfectly honest with you. We're 2 minutes into whatever time is added on. Aldershot Town 1, Southend United 0 on BBC Essex Sport. Forward goes the ball from the Blues. Be dealt with by Harfield. Scoops the ball over the halfway line. Barham jumps under pressure from Demetriou. Demetriou calmly brings it under control, and the Blues work it up towards the halfway line with Gus Scott-Morris. Angles the ball down that right hand side for Cardwell to put Harfield under pressure. Harfield just hurriedly clears the ball away onto the stand roof at the expense of a throw in for Southend United. They were a goal down at the weekend against Fylde very early on, got themselves back into it, but ultimately fell to a 2-1 home defeat, and they find themselves behind here as well. Thrown in short. Coker, who came short to collect the ball. Out wide right, down that far side. Chance to put the ball into the box. It's dealt with. Volleyed away again by Harfield. Up to the halfway line. Kensdale under no pressure, works it out to that far side once again. Ball will go into the box. Cardwell gets the nod down to the edge of the area. Taylor challenging, doesn't get a piece of the ball, but it somehow works its way out to this near side to Jack Bridge, level the edge of the penalty area. Bridge on his left foot, checks back onto his right, thinks the cross in towards Cardwell, misses his head. That struck someone's hand at the far post. It struck a Southend United hand, says the referee. It's a defensive free kick for Aldershot Town.
Yeah, nice little movement was it from Jack Bridge, just curled it in right footed as he's checked back. Cardwell, I think that was Cardwell got anything on it, but it was Gus Scott Morris coming in at the far post, stretching for it with his head. Unfortunately, it went past him and just caught his flailing arm.
The leaders back in front at Spotland. Rochdale 1, Chesterfield 2. That was an 8 o'clock kick-off this evening. All the half-time details, including the ladies from the Essex non-league scene to come. Free kick for Aldershot Town, which Jordi van Stappershoff, their Dutch goalkeeper, will take. Shaven-headed and bearded, right-footed in his orange boots, thumps the ball away over to the far side, comes off an Aldershot head, Tyler Frost it was, and out for a throw-in over on that far side. The home side in front, just as we ticked into first half stoppage time, through Laurent Tallage, his 4th of the season, the Swiss striker. And Dimitri at the back for Southend United invites Ollie Kensdale to stride out of defence. Kensdale looking forward, looking for options, looking for a yellow shirt, pings it far side towards Gus Scott Morris. It skips up off a slick recreation ground surface and goes away for a defensive throw to the home side. We've played 4.5 minutes of time added on. And a throw for Aldershot, and there were 5 added minutes, I understand, at the end of this first period, which is the signal for a few people away to our left-hand side to head to the concession stalls. I was going to say for a warming coffee, but maybe for a cooling can of fizz of some description. Aldershot in no hurry to take this throw-in. It's a warm evening here. And the touchline it goes, and that brings to an end a first half of football where both sides have tried to get it down, tried to play neat, compact and tidy football. There have been opportunities at either end for Southend United. Harry Cardwell's come the closest. His strike 30 minutes before the break, tipped round the post by the home goalkeeper. Gus Scott Morris also having an effort. He scooped over the bar, and Callum Powell, an effort deflected wide. But the goal which separates the sides coming right on the stroke of 45 minutes. That had so much sterile possession had Aldershot, but then when the ball was turned forward to Laurent Tallage, he was virtually unmarked to turn around about 22-25 yards out and fire a shot beyond David Martin. Martin didn't see it as it went through a crowd scene on the edge of the area to give the home side the lead, and Southend have got some thinking to do, Glenn Pennyfather.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've written down, Glenn, right in front of me in big capital letters with an exclamation mark, shoot. Tallage gets the ball, he didn't have any other thought in his mind, one touch, sharp turn, shot in the back of the net. Blues have had 2 or 3 really good opportunities, and the only one that's taken and pulled the trigger and taken that opportunity is Jace Dimitri. Yes, it went over the bar, but Tallage's next one might go over the bar, but I guarantee you he'll carry on shooting. Blues have got to take those opportunities, and probably Noor Hussein's been the biggest culprit of that tonight, where he's had the opportunity where the pitch has opened up for him. He's driving central, going towards the goal, just pulled the trigger, and he hasn't done that. But I thought Blues weathered an early storm. I think, the 3 front lads of Aldershot looked really sharp and really bright-minded, but Blues grew into that half, and they had a sustained period of pressure where they got in down this left-hand channel on a couple of occasions, mainly through Harry Cardwell, Callum Powell with Jason Dimitri doing the delivery. Noor Hussein and Jack Bridge have done some decent work and got into some promising positions, but once again, it's that quality, isn't it? That quality in the final third, whether it's the cross, the pass, the finish, whatever it may be, it just lacks that real bit of quality to upset teams, and that's been really the story. And Aldershot, as you rightly said, they probably had 10-15 passes where they went absolutely nowhere. Suddenly they've bypassed, they've penetrated through 2 sets of lines, the front lads and the midfield to Tallage, and that's where you've got to be tight. You can't afford to be 2 or 3 yards off a lad like that who's a centre forward who wants to turn and get his strike away, and he's done just that, and Blues find themselves a goal behind, where to be fair, I thought it was a pretty even half in all honesty, but once again Blues find themselves a goal behind and got some work to do, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn. More from him, more from myself in the second half. Half-time here at the Rec then. It is Aldershot Town 1, Southend United 0.
Service!
on BBC iPlayer.
Have you seen my sugar?
Yeah, it's over here, girl.
Oh, you're definitely not sweet enough. No chance.
A brand new drama starring Vanette Robinson and Stephen Graham.
This is impossible. I need help, please.
Don't worry, I've got it.
No.
It's like working with a bunch of school kids.
Calm down!
No, I'm not going to calm down. I've had enough.
What happened last time you lost your temper in the kitchen?
He's all used to work for me. If it wasn't for here, I'd still have my own restaurant.
Boiling Point starts Sunday on BBC iPlayer.
BBC Essex Sport.
Victoria Polly with you on BBC Essex Sport. 21 minutes to 9, half time then at the Recreation Ground. Southend United trailing by 1-0 against Aldershot. That goal coming just at the start of the 5 minutes of added on time at the end of that first half. 08000 321 333, starting a message with the word Essex if you want to react to what you've heard so far. You can text 81333, also starting with Essex, and you can get us at BBC Essex Sport on social media. Second half commentary coming up for you here on BBC Essex and via the BBC Sport website as well. In the Women's Nations League this evening, it's the Netherlands 1, England 1. They've got just under 10 minutes left to play in that one. The Netherlands taking the lead in the first half, but Alicia Russo has levelled up in the 64th minute, and England are working their way back into that game with head coach Serena Wiegman back with her native Netherlands for the first time as England coach. Elsewhere this evening in the EFL Cup, half times for you: Bradford City 0, Middlesbrough 1, Exeter City 0, Luton Town 0, Ipswich Town 2, Wolves 2. Ipswich were 2-0 down in that one. Mansfield 1, Peterborough United 1, Port Vale 0, Sutton 0, Salford 0, Burnley 3. Burnley, the Premier League side, cruising at Salford, and Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 0. That one is a later score, having kicked off at 8 o'clock, and the Crystal Palace goalkeeper Dean Henderson has had to go off injured in that one. In the Scottish League Cup, half-time in the quarter-final, Kilmarnock 0, Hearts 1. EFL trophy games, all kinds of kick-off times going on in this competition. Northampton Town 2, Chelsea under-21s 2. That one has got just over 10 minutes to go in the game. Bolton Wanderers 4, Manchester United under-21s 0 as a half-time score. Barnsley 2, Manchester City under-21s 1. That's just got back underway, I should say. And Burton Albion 2, Everton under-21s 0. 10 minutes to go in that one. Half-time scores for you, not too much around locally this evening, but in the Isthmian North, it's goalless between Wroxham and Whittam Town. In the Southern League Central Division 1, Stotfold 0, Waltham Abbey 0. And we've got a few BBC Essex Senior Cup first round ties ongoing as well this evening. Harlow Town 1, Burnham Ramblers 0, Buckhurst Hill 0, Holland 0, Wivenhoe Town 1, Ilford 0, FC Clapton 1, Coggeshall Town 1. The other tie going on in that competition this evening is Frenford 1, Barking 2. So that's just about brings you up to date with everything else that's going on around the county this evening. 81333, starting message with the word Essex if you want your say on what you've heard from Blues so far. Or you can WhatsApp 08000 321 333, also starting with the word Essex at BBC Essex Sport on social media as well. On air until 10:30 this evening, so plenty of opportunity to have your say on Southend United. But let's turn our attentions to cricket for the next few minutes. Northamptonshire have frustrated Essex on day one of their final county championship match of the season at Wantage Road. The already relegated side were 200 279 for 6 when bad lights stopped play. They were helped by an unbeaten 154 from Rob Keogh with the bat, having been put in by Essex. There were 2 wickets apiece for Essex's Jamie Porter and Matt Critchley, while there was 1 each for Simon Harmer and Sam Cook. The Essex head coach Anthony McGrath has been speaking to Nick Gledhill at the close of play.
Keogh batted really well there, got in. It's only a smallish outfield as well with the boundaries. So we've got 6 wickets. We've lost quite a lot of time to rain and bad light. So we've just got to start again tomorrow and obviously try and get these wickets as quick as we can and get batting.
We're quite pleased at one point, particularly getting Karen there, the obvious danger man out. He looked very good when he was there, but he got him out for 21, so that must have been a bonus.
Yeah, as I said, I think the feedback straight away with the pitch was just so slow. There's not a lot of bounce either for the spinners, so it was always going to be difficult, I think, to take wickets, but we just got to try and stem the runs better than we did. We leaked quite a few runs, particularly in that middle session there, so something to think about tomorrow.
It's just a question of trying to bowl them out as quickly as possible, and then the batsman can get in. There are runs to be had out there on Essex bat.
Yeah, it looks like that. Like you say, I think that was the plan today. That's why we bowled, to try and get wickets as quick as possible and try and control the game. And I think sometimes when you do that, you go away from your strength, which is really tying them up and bowling maiden. So we leaked a few more than we've got, but still, look, tomorrow's another day. We've got to start quickly, and then as we keep saying, it looks a good wicket. We've got to try and get as many as we can, as quickly as we can.
That's the Essex head coach, Anthony McGrath. Very windy by the sounds of it, Wantage Road, speaking to BBC Essex's Nick Gledhill. We'll have commentary of day 2 via the BBC Sport website and app for you tomorrow morning, just before 10:30, as Essex look to take those final 4 wickets pretty quickly. Surrey are on course to take the county championship title. They need just 2 more points to confirm that status. Any Essex upset looking highly unlikely now, considering that defeat in the last game against Hampshire. And may I just take this opportunity to remind you that Around the Wicket is back on BBC Essex tomorrow between 6 and 7. We will have the latest on that match involving Essex at Northamptonshire in the final game of the season. Also going to be talking about walking cricket, and I'm very excited as well to have Felix White on the programme tomorrow, part of the Tailenders Gang, the BBC Cricket podcast featuring Greg James and Jimmy Anderson. Also, Felix, part of the Maccabees, and we will have a chat about their tour, which is coming to Southend next month, but also just in general his love of county cricket. He is a Surrey fan, so I spoke to him earlier and we had a bit of chat about what he's made of the county championship season. So you'll be able to hear that on BBC Essex tomorrow between 6 and 7. And Around the Wicket is going on until next Wednesday. So the season finishing on Friday for Essex, or scheduled to finish day 4 of their match on Friday, and we'll be back on air next Wednesday to round up the season as a whole for Essex and reflect on performances, discuss each format of the game and how Essex have got on this campaign. So 6 till 7, BBC Essex on a Wednesday for Around the Wicket. The time is 13 minutes to 9.
BBC Essex Sport.
Evening to you from Victoria Polly on BBC Essex Sport, where Southend United have had chances in the first half at Aldershot, but they find themselves a goal down at the break.
Aldershot with their 14 points, but they're under pressure now. Lovely little backheel. Jack Bridge breaks into the box and tries to pick out 3 yellow shirts who are all converging on it, and in the end it's cleared from under the crossbar by the massed ranks of Aldershot defenders, and Southend United pick themselves up a throw in. Work down the far side for Gus Scott Morris, puts the low cross in, travels a long way, opportunity for his sin from a very narrow angle, puts the cross in, Van Stappershoff palms the ball away and thumped wide of goal via a deflection by Callum Powell. I think Southend think there might be a hand involved there as it's deflected wide, but it's a corner kick and no more than that. There's an option short, but it goes long into the near post towards Carver, travels a long way, and the goalkeeper, struggling at the second time of asking, tips the ball away. I mean, had it bounced into the back of the net, it would have gone straight in from the throw-in, so wouldn't have counted. And in the end, the assistant has flagged for something or other. Swung in by Miley. Cardwell's there, can't quite get the header, scooped towards goal from just inside the 18-yard box. and it's just over the crossbar. It was actually a decent opportunity for Southend United. Space opens up, slips the ball in behind, chance for Cardwell, just wide of goal, across the face of the goalkeeper, who Cardwell says has got a hand to it. The referee gave a goal kick, the assistant gave a goal kick, the referee now said corner. Space for Glover, clips the ball over the far side. It's a wonderful ball as well, to the byline, square to the far post, just over the head of Barham. And Jack Bridge picks up possession for Blues, under pressure from Aaron Jones, just needs to get this one clear. Step to the right hand side of central defence. They're playing the ball into the edge of the area, and a shot from distance beats David Martin. They worked it so very, very nicely to Laurent Talage, and around about 22 yards from goal, he's allowed to get a shot away. David Martin doesn't see it, and it flies into the bottom corner of the net. Talking about these Aldershot players interchanging, Talage came a little bit deeper there to collect, turns and shoots into the bottom corner of the net, and Southend United trail by a goal to nil.
Can Southend United find themselves a goal in the second half? Commentary on the way for you here on BBC Essex, all frequencies, and via the BBC Sport website and app. In the late stages of the Women's Nations League, England have conceded a goal in stoppage time. They got themselves back in it to 1-1 thanks to Alessia Russo, but they are 2-1 down with 4 of the 5 minutes to go left in that second half. We'll round up all the full-time scores for you here on BBC Essex Sport. We're on air until 10:30 this evening, but time to return to the recreation ground for second half commentary. Southend United at Aldershot in the National League this evening. Your commentary team, Glenn Speller and Glenn Pennyfather, here on BBC Essex at 10 to 9.
BBC Essex Sport.
Welcome back to the rec, just awaiting the arrival of the two sides back out onto the playing surface here. Hammer blow for Southend, right on the stroke of the 45 minutes. Again, sterile possession for Aldershot, eventually worked into Talage. Lengthening commentary, just came deep, it just came off his man, allowed to turn, shoot and fire past David Martin. And Southend United are going to have to try to find some kind of response in this second period, albeit there aren't exactly huge options for Kevin Mayer to change things around. Dan Mooney and Jack Wood and Mauro Velletti all have attacking threats, but attacking threats mean that Harry Cardwell probably would have to stay on with any of those three who were brought on, because they still need that physical presence up front. And I think, as Glenn Pennyfather rejoins us for the second half as well, I do just think that sometimes in that first half, Glenn, they were guilty sometimes of just going, well look, let's just chuck the ball up and see if Harry Cardwell can win something.
Yeah, I think it's two ends of the spectrum. I think there's times when they run out of ideas in terms of their passing and their creativity, and they do throw that ball up on an angle to Cardwell, and in all honesty, I'm trying to rack my brains to think how many times we've seen Harry Cardwell from a ball like that score, and I think one of them was here actually, Glenn, a couple of years ago when Cardwell got an equaliser with his head. I don't know if you remember that, but that was one time. But also I think we have the other end of the spectrum where Blues tend to overpass on their approach play. They'll refuse shots. We've said about that, and I'm still harping on that you need to shoot. Talage has showed them that, and Blues have refused on a few occasions, and that's been sort of evident throughout the season as well, where they over-elaborate, they overpass, and that's not conducive to good football at times. Yes, you can work the ball, yes, you can be patient, yes, you can probe, but if you're going to probe, you've then got to have the quality to go with it at the end, whether it's the final pass, the cross, the finish, whatever it may be. But there's also times where that pitch opens up for you, and you're going to say, I'm going to take this on myself and take on that responsibility and get your shots away. It's not a crime to shoot.
Jack Wood is going to come on for Southend United, and a quick scan around tells me that I can tell you that Callum Powell and his race is run for the evening. Took a knock in that first half when a player seemed to kick through and catch the bottom of his boot, and whether that's overextended that knee or ankle area of Callum Powell's right leg, that is what has caused him to be replaced. So Callum Powell is off and Jack Wood is on before the second half gets underway here, and Wood will go up and alongside Harry Cardwell, because it's the only option really, you would think, for Kevin Mayer.
No changes for Aldershot Town at the break. So David Martin in goal for the Blues. Then the back three: Jason Demetriou, Ollie Kensdale and Harry Taylor. Gus Scott Morris and Jack Bridge, the wing-backs. Noor Hussein, who's been instrumental in that first half, for Glenn Pennefather saying, just shoot, because he had 2 opportunities there. Ollie Coker, Cav Miley, and it's now Harry Cardwell and Jack Wood. No changes for Aldershot at the break. Jordi van Stappershoef is their goalkeeper. The back 4: Haji Minoga, Aaron Jones, Kean Harris and Ollie Harfield. Tyler Frost and Theo Widrington, the 2 deep line midfielders, and ahead of them Ryan Glover, Josh Stokes and Jack Barham, and up front the goal scorer Lauren Talage. The Aldershot bench is Jack Bycroft, the goalkeeper, Kobe Rowe, Ethan Burnett, Tommy Willard and Kwame Thomas. The 2 remaining substitutes for Southend United are Dan Mooney and Mauro Valetti, and our referee is David McNamara. All set to get underway, live and exclusive on BBC Essex in this second period. Then up for sale, Southend United, for the princely sum of £1 will get you 70.6% of their shares, and then £4.5 million on top of that will get you Roots Hall, which you can pay over 3 years if you want to, says the current owner Ron Martin, and he won't charge you rent over that time either. The trouble is, what division will Southend United be playing in, no matter who owns the club next season? Because yes, this is only the 12th game of the season, but the fact of the matter is they are bottom of the table because of a 10-point deduction. They're on 6 points at the start of play today. The live league table, as scores stand at the moment, tells us they will be 5 points short of safety. So while things go on off the field, you need to keep an eye on what's going on the field as well. They're a goal down here, and Tyler Frost it is who hammers the ball forward for Aldershot. And it's Kensdale who goes back to goalkeeper David Martin, who swings it away straight onto the boot of Widrington. Here's the goal scorer, midway point of the Southend United half, Lauren Talage. Southend all in yellow this evening, playing from left to right as we watch on in this second half. And Aldershot on the edge of the box, slip it into Talage, back on his right foot, can't get it out from under his feet to get the shot away, and the Blues can bring it out of defence. The home side are in red and blue striped shirts, red shorts and red socks, and Southend now skipping away up to the halfway line, where Jack Wood's first action of the evening is to be unceremoniously scythed to the ground by Haji Minoga. It should be a yellow card, and Jack Wood, rolling around and writhing on the ground, will pick himself up as all the yellow shirts come round to protect him, and Minoga will collect a caution, Glenn Pennefather.
Yeah, I think that's probably the understatement of the year. It was like a big RSJ swinging round there, wasn't it? The fact that Mwanga, I don't think he meant it for one bit, but he just completely mistimed his challenge, didn't he? And took Jack Wood out as Jack just rolled the ball past him, and he does collect his yellow card, but I don't think there was any malice in the challenge. It looked pretty bad though.
He just slid in and just scythed him down, didn't you, with that movement with that left foot. Made sure Jack Wood wasn't getting away from it. It's a free kick for Southend United on the halfway line, which taken from this near side. Wood, Cardwell all waiting for this one. In from Kensdale. Kensdale's gone very wide over on that far side, trying to pick out Bridge. It's headed away. Miley to Bridge. Back towards the halfway line for Miley once again. It's challenged by Stokes. Those two have stuck like glue to each other throughout the evening. Minoga clears away this time under pressure from Wood, who might have thought about exacting some revenge but thought better of it. And Aldershot concede a throw in for Southend United in the attacking third, and Gus Scott Morris jogs across from the right hand side to the left hand side. Blues have got 3 yellow shirts in the box, 3 waiting for it on the edge of the area, and Taylor just goes in to bolster that threat towards the penalty spot. Gus Scott Morris with the throw, high trajectory in towards Caldwell, bounces a long way, chance for Bridge. Is that over the line? No, it's not, says the assistant. No, it's not, says the referee. The fact of the matter is, I don't think Bridge got a sure enough touch to get it beyond the goalkeeper, who's proceeding to argue with several defenders because they feel he should have come and got it. Man of his size surely should have done. And Aldershot escape. Southend should be level.
Why didn't Jack Bridge put it in the net? It looked like he just let it run across him rather than sticking it in the back of the net. It was difficult to see with our angle, but it certainly looked like Jack Bridge was at the far post. The long throw has evaded everybody. It's bounced and it looked like it was going to go in at the back stick. It's been cleared. Well, Blues are saying it's crossed the line. It has been cleared, but for me, it looked like Jack Bridge just needed to stick it in the back of the net.
And you know how, as Aldershot play the ball out from the back, from the goal kick, you know how sometimes you think, I'm pretty sure that's gone over the line. That's one of those where I don't think he did.
No. There was certainly some remonstrations from Blues players, but you know how to get rid of that. Stick it in there yourself.
it bounced up, but you're just thinking, well, it doesn't matter what you touch it with, other than your hand, of course, but just make a touch. But
get it in.
A couple of Aldershot defenders have gone to their goalkeeper and probably said, look, you're about 10 feet tall, just come and get the ball and bail us out. But he wants to stick on his line, and that's the third time this evening. He's not been too sure of a high ball into his box. Aldershot Town 1, Southend United 0, but right at the start of this second half, a golden opportunity has been allowed to pass by for the Blues to level things up. Aldershot playing it out of defence in a neat and tidy way with Joe angled down this near side via Harfield, in turn to Frost. Frost carries it to the apex of the box. He's got Stokes on the overlap. Stokes right-footed, puts the cross in, headed more up in the air than anything, and they need the goalkeeper to come and get it, and David Martin, well, didn't really jump for it, and it bounces off his hands, but he gets it the second time of asking. But in credit to him, he rolls it out really quickly, tries to get the Blues motoring up the pitch. Up to the halfway line they come now with Jack Bridge, just forced to check as he just failed to take the ball completely in his stride. Off to Jack Wood, midway point of the Aldershot Town half now. Promising start to this second half. Into Cardwell it goes. Cardwell, well, he gets the nod down, but there's no support, and Glenn Pennefather referenced it about Cardwell being isolated, and he was there, no one in and around him to help and support when that ball does go in. Now fed down the far side for Wood to give chase. Minoga is there, goes back to goalkeeper Van Stappershoff. Allowed to bounce on the halfway line, and Kensdale just to readjust himself, so he got slightly under that one. And eventually Taylor tidies up. Kensdale out to Demetriou. Demetriou back to Kensdale. Southend trailing by a 1-0 so far. One win on the road from their 5 trips so far this season. Here's Demetriou on the halfway line for the Blues. Player coach these days, coaching position in the summer. Kensdale skips one way, skips the other, plays the ball out to the far side, slightly on his heels Husin, but keeps it in possession and rolls it into Bridge. Bridge into the box, out to the byline, tries to cut it back to Cardwell and Gus Scott Morris, but it's blocked at the near post. Corner kick, Southend United. Promising signs, Glenn Pennefather.
Yeah, absolutely. Great play by Ollie Kensdale, carrying the ball forward as he's done on many occasions in that first half. Picked the right pass out at the right time, wrapped it into Noor Husin, who just had a first touch out of his feet, and then slid Jack Bridge down into that left-hand channel inside the fullback. Jack got there, but decent defending by Aldershot just to give away this corner. Blues still got the pressure on.
Fourth of the game for the Blues, 7 minutes played in this second half. They're a goal down, right-footed, swung up towards the far post, towards Gus Scott Morris, whose downward header falls into the arms of the stooping Van Stappershoff, and he makes the save comfortably in the end. No one in and around the goalkeeper really there, but good delivery, good header.
Took the words out of my mouth then, Glenn. There needed to be somebody in and around that goalkeeper, somebody I'm sure is detailed to be in and around the goalkeeper, and there was absolutely nobody anywhere near him. Good header by Gus Scott Morris.
Full time in the Women's Nations League, Netherlands 2, England 1, so Serena Wiegman's return to her homeland is not a happy one. England's losing that one in the final 5 minutes or so, having levelled things up after going behind in the first half. A train has just pulled out of Aldershot Station behind the stand over the far side. Behind Van Stappershoff's goal, there's now some shallow seating. There used to just be a net there, and I seem to remember a rather well-cultivated hedge used to be behind that goal as well in their old League 2 days. And a big net to stop the ball flying onto the railway sidings behind there.
I remember losing a few balls in them bushes in my time.
Here's Wood inside the Aldershot half from a Blues midfielder Glenn Pennefather with myself, Glenn Speller, this evening. Out to the far side, fed once again. Bridge finding space, his cross is blocked, but he gets a second bite of the cherry, battling away, cuts the ball back into a very busy near post area, and a couple of defenders in the end stretching are able to tow it behind. Another corner for Southend United. They're getting Jack Bridge more involved.
Yeah, it's been a good start to this second half. Blues sort of sustaining that pressure, most of it coming down that left-hand channel with Jack Bridge and Jack Wood on that occasion. Blues knocking at the door.
Another corner, their second of this half for Blues. And they threaten from the earlier one, right-footed, in towards Kensdale this time. Doesn't quite reach him, blocked to the edge of the area. Miley challenges, Miley wins it, but it just bounces off him, and Aldershot pick up possession. And it's fed by Barham, down the near side for Stokes, looks to his right, Talage getting up alongside him. Stokes goes for goal, and it's blocked by the very quickly covering Jason Demetriou. It's come across from the left-hand side to the right-hand side to make the block and concede the corner.
Yeah, using all of his experience there, Jason Demetriou took up a great line defensively, coming across from the other side of the pitch. He just refused the pass inside for Stokes and made him shoot. It wasn't the best of angles, and he just got in the shooting line, didn't he? And it ricochets off his leg and out for this corner. Good defending, the art of defending without actually having any pressure on the ball.
It's Ryan Glover with the corner in his second spell with the club now. Pings it into the near post, flicked up in the air, hasn't gone out of players yet, and the Blues just need to get this one clear. And it's going to be Bridge actually with it on this near side, and eventually scooped away over the halfway line, but there's no yellow shirt within 20-30 yards of that, and headed forward by Aldershot, and out of play it goes for a throw in. Southend will take from this near side. They are Blues fans, you could probably hear in fine voice on BBC Essex this evening. They're tucked away in the covered terracing behind the goal away to our left hand side, right over in the corner there. As Aldershot play the ball out of defence, half blocked by Cardwell, a spinning ball bounces in central midfield, helped on by Barr onto Stokes. Stokes, has he got the wrong side of Taylor here? He has. Stokes goes to ground, picks himself up, forced away from goal, but plenty of red and blue striped shirts are there to support him. It's Frost, goes back to Glover in the attacking third, little back heel, back to Frost, on his left foot the former Harrogate man, cuts into the area, fires across in, which is blocked, but he'll pick up the spinning ball as it's blocked away, back to Stokes once again. Stokes drives low, and David Martin covers the near post and makes the save.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gus Scott Morris got it in the region. You don't want to get it in at full blast there. He's on his knees at the moment. I think Dave Martin should have seen that. Dave Martin's just released the ball as the referee has actually blown the whistle. Hopefully Gus will be all right. I'm sure he will.
Ebbsfleet 0, Dorking 1, and it is also Oxford City 0, Gateshead 2 in the National League. So a couple of goals early in the second half there. Yeah, he's got it in the region where if you're a man, you know how it feels, but as long as it hasn't happened to you,
yeah,
it's okay. But he's just picking himself up now, sucking the air in, because it just completely knocks the air out of you when that happens. Referee is just, as though the physios need to know where he's been hit, is just pointing to exactly where he's been hit,
just to make absolutely sure everybody knows.
And well, he's not needed the physio on, but then again the physio comes on, what's John Gowan's going to do? Really?
Yeah, count up.
Yeah, just count that everything's there in place where it should be. But yeah, he's just stooped over at the moment, Gus Scott Morris, because that will hurt. It'll probably still hurt in the morning as well. It'll hurt if Southend don't get back into this game. Trailing by a goal to 0 on BBC Essex. Hussein releases Wood up to the apex of the box, goes Bridge. Bridge again cuts back, squares the ball across the face of goal, but it's blocked just as they thought it might reach Wood. Cleared away. Miley picks up the pieces again for Southend United, being influential this evening. Cav Miley in his more accustomed central midfield role. Ball into the box. Minoga scuffs his clearance. It goes backwards, and Van Stappershoff again. Okay, he's caught slightly unawares, but elects to tip the ball away for a corner when he could have caught it.
Well, it was a strange affair, wasn't it? The ball's been whipped in low. It wasn't the best cross in the world. Minoga's had a real slash at the ball. It caught it on the outside of his foot, sent it goalwards. Minoga did make a real meal of it. The cameras were out, but it does give Blues this corner from the right hand side.
Another corner. Miley with a left-footed in swinger, headed away, but it'll go out for a throw to Blues, and they'll want Scott Morris, who's hopefully recovered from his earlier blow, to come across and take this throw in. She does. Wiped moisture off the ball down the front of that yellow Southend United away shirt this evening. His side a goal down, but they're knocking at the Aldershot door. Scott Morris with the long throw. Fools everyone, takes it short, gets it back from Hussein. Hussein can swing the ball in, doesn't get the angle right. Kensdale battling for it. Aldershot just swipe it away deep into the Blues half, and David Martin can come out and collect and roll it in turn. Out to Demetriou, feeds it to Miley, collecting off his back line on the halfway line. Fed through to Hussein, little pocket of space for Hussein, turns into the feet of Cardwell. Cardwell forced to come out from a very busy, congested area on the edge of that box, but Southend retain possession. Back to Demetriou, it goes once again. Clipped up down the far side for Cardwell, coming out of the 18-yard area, back out to Miley. Bridge offers support. Miley wants to come to a more central role here. Aldershot just shepherding him away from goal. Everyone behind the ball for the home side. Miley turns it on the angle for Bridge. Bridge to Demetriou. Demetriou gets the cross in again. The goalkeeper stays on his line, and that forces a defender to make the interjection, and Aldershot have cleared up to the halfway line. Barham off to Stokes. Stokes, so impressive this evening, so impressive throughout the season by all reports. But Aldershot fiddling around with it at the back, and in the end, his half-fielder puts it straight out for the throw-in. Aldershot 1, Southend 0.
Yeah, you do feel though that ball that's gone right across the 6-yard line, Glenn, the only person that was making any movement on their front foot towards the ball was Gus Scott Morris, and he's coming from right wing back. You just like to see them invest, that they're trying to get back in the game, invest a couple midfield player or two, making those runs into the penalty area, arriving late, but invest more players into the penalty area, and then balls are going in.
Ball played down this near side by Taylor. Again, he's looking for Cardwell, headed forward by Gus Scott Morris, comes off the head of Keane Harries, a Welsh youth international, and through to goalkeeper Van Stappershoff once again, who has been less than impressive thus far tonight. And I think he's been told by his central defenders as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. But sometimes you feel, because Blues' approach play is very measured, everybody wants to get involved in it. Nobody wants to go, do you know what? I ain't worried about that. I don't want to get involved. I'm going to get on the end of something in the box. And I think they just need that mentality every now and again, especially from midfield players. Cardwell's getting in there. Jack Wood was outside the penalty area on that occasion. But sometimes you just got to take a chance. That mentality of, I've got to anticipate. That's where the ball's going to end up. That's where I'm going to be.
Just gone past the hour mark on BBC Essex. Aldershot Town 1, Southend United 0. The goal right on the stroke of 45 minutes. Lauren Talage afforded space. Over 20 yards out, turn, shot beyond David Martin. After a period of possession from Aldershot, but they didn't seem to be doing anything with it, and Southend might be guilty of just going to sleep while watching Aldershot pass around in front of them. At the moment, it's bouncing around in midfield. Stokes trying to hold off Miley. He's done just about enough. Minogue steps in and lays a dodgy looking ball off to Widrington. Oh, but Widrington's pass out of defence, bypasses Scott Morris, reaches Tyler Frost. Frost on the edge of the area, tries to pass the ball rather than shoot, interestingly, and Southend come up with possession, and there's a bit of space to move into now here for Ollie Coker. Off to Miley, up to the halfway line for Hussein. Down that far side for Bridge. Bridge has got 3 yellow shirts to aim at. They're all getting in the middle. Bridge to the byline. Up to the far post. Goalkeeper doesn't get there, and Wood at the far post can't quite climb high enough, and it'll be cleared away down the near side.
Super little ball in, wasn't it, from Jack Bridge? It looked like Minogue was going to get the block on it, but he didn't. He just hung it up fast thick, and unfortunately Jack Wood just needed to be a foot taller.
Well, Southend coming forward once again. It's with Demetriou. Demetriou on his right foot squares it off for Jack Wood. Wood on his left foot. No, the chance to shoot was momentary, and in a glimpse it was gone as Aldershot closed the door, and the home side have conceded a free kick over on the far side as another train this time comes into Aldershot station behind the stand. Southend want to take the free kick quickly. Referee says it's not from the right place, and I think he wants a word with Josh Stokes as well, just as he goes past him for arguing the toss. Southend have taken the free kick now into the edge of the box for Cardwell. Cardwell forced out wide though. In turn for Hussein. Hussein to Demetriou. Demetriou 30 yards from goal, squares it off to Taylor. Taylor needs an angle. The angle comes from Gus Scott Morris. Scott Morris allowed to turn and face up Frost. Down towards the byline. Gets the low ball in. The most convincing piece of defending you'll do, but it's kept in play and thumped up to the halfway line. Headed by Ollie Kensdale. I don't think he was intending where it went, but in the end it was a good-looking header sideways to Demetriou.
Off the sheriff's badge, wasn't it?
Old 50p for a head.
Yeah.
Here's Miley to Bridge. Bridge inside for Wood in the attacking third. Wood out wide to Demetriou. Down towards Bridge once again, just nudged off it by Glover. Good covering from him, but he's given possession away. Won by Coker. Coker up towards the edge of the area, wants to shoot. didn't really convince that he'd set himself, didn't really convince that he believed it, and shoots over.
Nah, absolutely that. I thought, Coker, we've seen him score a couple of great goals already this season for those sort of distances, and when he opened up on his left foot, it didn't seem that conviction in the strike, did there? And he kind of got underneath it and it went wide of the goal. But certainly Blues have reacted extremely well in this second period to conceding that late goal in the first half, and they are knocking on the door, but you just feel that, are we seeing promising opportunities lacking that quality still, Glenn?
Change for Aldershot, their first of the evening. All this coming in the 64th minute. The goal scorer is heading off, Lawrence Halage, and Kwame Thomas, who picked up a Scottish Championship winners medal last season with Dundee, is on. He was the one change they made this evening. He started at the weekend at Boreham Wood, but Kwame Thomas is on, former England under-20 international as well. Knows about success, a spell with Sutton, which was very successful. It's not a bad change to make at this level, perfectly honest with you. Yet to score this season, though, so far, Kwame Thomas. Found Stappershaw with the clearance to the far side, and Thomas's first touch is a nice convincing flick on. Drops on the halfway line. One, though, and one strongly by Coker. To Scott Morris, who's gone backwards to Taylor. Taylor, nice little ball over the halfway line along the ground for Coker. Space for Ollie Coker to move into. Slips it into Jack Wood. This is his chance. Oh, he's just nudged off it. Didn't have the strength to go shoulder to shoulder with a defender. Goes to ground, and Aldershot clear.
Yeah, it was a great little ball, wasn't it? Into Jack Wood. It was a decent first touch, but it's probably that physicality we was talking at the top of the show with Jack Wood, that he just needs to maybe bulk up a little bit and just to hold off them sort of challenges. And unfortunately, I think it was Harefield that was too strong for him in that challenge, and the opportunity went. It definitely wasn't a foul, but great approach play again by Blues.
Equaliser for second from bottom, Kidderminster at home to Oldham, one apiece there. In Worcestershire is Cardwell. Cardwell in turn off to Coker, who the moment he strikes it throws his head to the skies because he knows he's got too much on it, and he goes behind for an Aldershot goal kick. 65 gone, the home side continue to lead by 1-0, but all the pressing and all the opportunities being created by a reinvigorated Southend United.
Yeah, they've come out of the blocks, like that. You'd expect them. They've shown bundles of character this year, the side's full of it, and they're showing it again now, but it's just need that little bit of quality, Glenn. I know I'm harping on about it, but you just need something to fall for you in the box, or a decently timed run, or a quality ball in to get them back level.
Quick couple of goals up in North Yorkshire as well. Third place Barnet, 3-1 ahead of York. They were a goal down in that match as well, and Dean Brennan continues to do a great job at Barnet. They haven't got the biggest budget themselves either. Playoffs last season, and right up there again this season.
Well, I remember when we went with Blues there last year, and Blues played them off the pitch, and suddenly they went on this run, and you wonder where it came from. But certainly a great job being done by Dean Brennan over at Barnet.
Someone we know, well, not well, but briefly, during a period at Billericay when they changed the manager as much as I changed my socks. Here are Blues at the back, continuing to trail by 1-0. Into the centre circle for Ollie Coker. Coker's got Cardwell calling for it, points where he wants it, but Bridget is who intervenes. Cardwell points where he wants the ball into the box now. They still wait, Southend. Lovely turn by Wood. Oh, he's caught his man. Minoga stepped across him, and Wood just caught him as he came out. Cardwell pointed where he wanted the ball, but instead they played it to Bridge. Then he pointed where he wanted the cross, but he was fed out wide instead.
Yeah, and he's coming to Jack Wood, and Jack Wood's turning blindly there. He needs to be able to feel the defender, to use the defender's forward momentum coming into the back of him to roll him. He's tried to roll the defender where he didn't really know where it was, and it was easily picked off by Minoga.
Rochdale away to come on Saturday for Southend up at Spotland. We'll have commentary for you on BBC Essex, then back home next Tuesday for a game against newly promoted Oxford City, whose games have been goal fests one way or the other so far this campaign. Then off to Woking, and then a home game against Solihull Moors, who are second and winning this evening as well. Now there's a free kick over on the far side. Kwame Thomas goes to ground. Free kick to Aldershot, just approaching the midway point of the Southend United half as we just tick into the fourth and final quarter of this game.
Yeah, the Aldershot bench just trying to get some information onto the goalkeeper about
Probably some of his decisions he's making this evening. Some. Here's Keane Harris, pings the ball into the box towards Kwame Thomas. Minoga jumps, a back-heeled clearance in the mid-air from Cav Miley. Played out nicely in turn by Hussein. On one more, it goes over the halfway line to Connor Wood. Coker continues his run forward, having played it to Wood. Wood is surrounded by Aldershot red and blue shirts, and it'll be a throw-in to the Blues just inside the home side's half.
Yeah, he done well, Jack Wood, under extreme pressure from two Aldershot players. He just managed to work the ball where he knew the defender was going to toe poke it out for a throw-in.
Cardwell misses his kick from the throw from Gus Scott Morris. Harry steps across and then poked away by Wood for a defensive throw to Aldershot. Mention have only been beaten once here so far this season from their 5 games. They actually got more points on the road than they got here last season. Home form was a real problem for them as they got dragged ever closer to relegation trouble until Tommy Widrington hauled them away. 2,281 inside the Rec this evening, and just shy of 450 Southend United supporters as well. Another great effort from Blues fans. Is it going to be rewarded with, at the very least, an equaliser, which you would say the performance deserves?
Yeah, absolutely. This second half performance has been far the better side.
Thomas is tracking Kensdale. The option wasn't there for Kensdale. He has to go back to goalkeeper Martin, who pings it out to Taylor. Taylor looks forward, looking long, lifting it up towards Cardwell, won't get there, headed away. Harfield misses the back heel. Barham is fouled by an over-eager Harry Taylor, keen to get towards the ball, keen to get his side moving forward once again, and goes through the back of the former Maidstone and Barnet man, and it'll be a free kick to Aldershot just inside their own half, and they'll go backwards in order to come forwards. Harry's across the back line, Glenn. Minoga over the halfway line to Thomas. Thomas, poor first touch, goes out of play. Puts the thumbs up for the correct ball, but not for the control. Throw in for Southend United. The 2 remaining substitutes, Dan Mooney and Mauro Villetti, the only options that Kevin Mayer still has at his disposal this evening. He's had to use one in the form of Jack Wood on for the injured Callum Powell. Picked up a knee problem in that first half. Battled on for 20-25 minutes, but too much for him to resume this second half. Southend have possession inside their own half. Miley, who else? Out to Demetriou carries it forward. Bridge has come inside here. Demetriou leaves it for him and joins the attack. Bridge motoring away, just checks back. Little back heel for Hussein, level with the edge of the penalty area. Hussein's low ball in, is headed away bootlace height by Minoga. Comes to Coker, thought about the shot, instead spins it wide back out to Hussein once again. Needs someone to make the move ahead of him. Off to Bridge. Bridge just escaped his man momentarily, but not enough to get the shot away. Wins possession back for Southend United. Good battling back from Bridge. This is Scott Morris. Squares it into the edge of the area for Coker. Coker jinks one way, goes the other way, goes for the shot. Tries to get it through the defender's legs. It's blocked. Back to Miley once again. Back out to this near side. Good possession from Southend. Scott Morris. Poor cross. Doesn't get the elevation on it. Defended away. Taylor keeps it alive. Scott Morris back to Taylor. And back into their own half for Ollie Kensdale for Southend United, as they're going to try to switch the point of attack to the far side.
Yeah, looks like we're going to see an Aldershot change coming soon, Glenn.
Yeah, just on this near side, they've got Ethan Burnett, former Reading youngster, ready to come on. Meantime, Southend still in possession with 18.5 minutes to go on BBC Essex. Still a goal down. Miley. This time his passing isn't exact, and Aldershot looked to spring from defence to attack as that was broken up from Miley's pass, but Glover and Stokes this time aren't on the same wavelength, and Southend pick it up once again with Bridge. Harry steps a long way out of defence to force Bridge away from goal. Work down the far side to Hussein. Bridge goes on the overlap. Hussein uses him as a dummy, slips it in behind Wood. Wood points, says I want it in front of me. He'd made the move outside. Hussein went inside, and it goes through to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get it into his feet, and as he went to play it to his feet, Jack Wood just made that movement into that left-hand channel, and it looked a poor ball in the end.
Van Stappershoff's mammoth clearance almost reaches Jack Barham. Defensive header from Taylor at the feet of Stokes, who squares it off to Barham, who can't take that in his stride. And suddenly, the game's very open across midfield. Game is stretched, and Southend might seize upon that as they move forward once again. Still a goal down on BBC Essex. Here's Hussein.
out to the ever-willing Bridge. More yellow shirts waiting for the cross. Bridge checks one way, comes back on his right foot to the edge of the area for Hussein. Will shoot this time, drives, and the goalkeeper spilled it, and it's in! Harry Caldwell levels things up for Southend United. We were calling for Noor Hussein to shoot in the first half. This time he does. The goalkeeper, who's looked unsteady throughout the evening, spills the ball, and Harry Caldwell, with lucky number 7, makes it 1-1.
Yeah, amazing what happens when you shoot, Glendon. You pull that trigger. It's a decent enough strike. It's right down the goalkeeper's throat, but that's why you shoot, because things like that happen. The goalkeeper's made a hash of it. He spilled it. Harry Caldwell's Johnny on the spot. He's the first man to react, to just toe poke, to give Blues the leveller, which they fully deserve for this second half performance as far.
1-1 on BBC Essex, and deservedly so, because we've had 28.5 minutes of this second half, and it's pretty much all been Southend United, and we were just wondering whether they were going to be able to carve out that chance. As it is, the goalkeeper's got an assist on that one, and we've said all evening about him.
But Glenn, if he'd have checked out and gone wide again, that would have never happened. Thank goodness he shot. Just
wonder whether someone's had a word in his ear at half-time. Southend on the attack once again. 1-1 on BBC Essex. The match is back in the boiling pot. Scott Morris.
I don't think they have BBC Essex on in the change room at half-time, do they?
Well, you know.
You never know.
The hotline might have been open to
no, shoot.
The Blues fans are in fine voice now. Just short of 450 of them here this evening. One apiece. Scott Morris and Kevin Mayer's embattled and put upon squad have done it once again and shown us the kind of belief and fight that they have within them. Cav Miley was telling us about that after the game on Saturday. And it's slipped down the far side by Demetriou. Demetriou into the edge of the area for Coker to Caldwell. Caldwell's shot is blocked and away for a corner kick to Southend United. And Aldershot are rocking a bit here.
Yeah, great work again from Blues. Miley instigating it again on the halfway line, just driving Blues forward again, putting the ball out wide left where all the trouble's being caused. And it was Caldwell on the turn trying to get his shot away. Blues corner, left-hand side, Bridge.
15 to go. In goes the corner, flick towards goal. Keeper tips it onto the crossbar. Still alive in there and volleyed wide by Coker. Not sure how much the goalkeeper knew about that as it was tipped onto the bar.
Scott Morris, wasn't it? Flick near post. Goalkeeper, boy, lucky boy. I think he only got a fingertips to it onto the crossbar. Just wouldn't fall down for a Blues player in the penalty, and eventually it goes out for a goal kick. As you say, Aldershot are rocking, but Blues have got to make sure they're doing the right thing at the other end.
Now, referee says play on as a sliding challenge. It goes in from Noor Hussein. He might be cautioned for that when play stops, but Aldershot are on the attack here. We're inside the final 15 minutes on BBC Essex. They did make the change, incidentally, after Southend scored. Ethan Burnett came on. So, do you want to do the process of elimination?
I will do that.
Here's Harfield coming inside for Aldershot. It might be Harfield.
I think is it Widrington?
You're right, it is. It's not Harfield. Ignore. 1-1. Hussein checks one way, comes out of defence up to the halfway line. He's floored as he lays the ball off, and then the referee's going to pull it back, and he is cautioning Noor Hussein. Okay. I wonder if that was for the challenge earlier where he went to play on. But he didn't point to the part of the pitch which they normally do when they've played advantage, but not on that occasion. So Theo Widrington is off, and Ethan Burnett, the former Reading youngster, is on. It's now AFC Fylde 1, Borehamwood 2 in the National League. Here it's 1-1. It's been a decent game throughout the evening. Both sides playing some attractive stuff. On the halfway line, this is Ollie Harfield. Still very much involved. Out to Frost. Harfield goes for the return. I don't think Frost's ball is going to get there. And across on the cover for Southend is Taylor. Over the top, but Harries beats Cardwell to it, and nice and tidy from Burnett. Back to goalkeeper Van Stappershoff. He hasn't covered himself in glory tonight. Throw it.
Wonderful defending by Harry Taylor just a few seconds ago. Read that ball in the channel, see the danger very early, and he's really adept at doing that. seeing that danger and just clearing things up at the back for Blues.
Throw down the touchline, comes off the back of Gus Scott Morris's head, but Taylor's on the cover. Not the best of passes by Taylor. Short to Dimitri, who does all he can just to tow it away, and out for a throw-in on this near side with Jack Barham breathing down Jason Dimitriou's back.
Yeah, I'll shut up about Harry Taylor at the moment, I think. Commentator's curse.
Here's Burnett in central midfield for Aldershot. Off to Glover. Glover gets beyond Jack Wood. They've rather run into a wall of yellow shirts there of Aldershot. Lovely turn by Harfield, turns it around the corner. Nice neat stuff again from the home side, fed in by Burnett down this near side for Stokes, too much on it, and it goes behind for a goal kick. So elsewhere, Fylde 1, Boreham Wood 2, Bromley 1, Eastleigh 0, Ebbsfleet 0, Dorking Wanderers 1, FC Halifax and Daggers still goalless, Hartlepool 0, Solihull Moors 2, 1-1 between Kidderminster and Oldham, Maidenhead and Altrincham, they remain goalless, Oxford City 0, Gateshead 2, Rochdale 1, Chesterfield 2, Wealdstone 1, Woking 0, and York 1, Barnet 3. As Gus Scott Morris gets beyond his man, down towards the byline, he beats Frost to it, slips it into the 6-yard area, and it just hits the heels of Minoga. Didn't know too much about it. Southend still have it on the edge of the area with Hussein. Hussein on his right foot, checks back on his left foot. Doesn't shoot this time, and he was central. Spreads it wide instead to Dimitriou. Dimitriou has got Bridge outside him. Down to the byline again for Bridge. Just has to cut back on his right foot to keep the ball in play. Still the support is there. 11 minutes to go. 1-1 on BBC Essex. Cardwell on the turn. Cardwell shoots. The goalkeeper this time, his handling is enough to hold the ball. And there was Gus Scott Morris looking for any kind of mistake from the keeper.
Still didn't look particularly confident, did it? Even when that ball went into him from the striker Harry Cardwell, it was straight down his throat. But just on the ball, Gus Scott Morris has done great. He's evaded the challenge. He's driving into the box. The boy can't touch him, so he goes down. It's a penalty. There was that. You need that little bit of movement. You just need the movement. Harry Cardwell was stood still. Jack Wood was stood still, waiting for the pass to him. That's where you've got to make movement in front of your player. Then Gus Scott Morris can whip the ball in, and you're in front. We've seen Cardwell do that on a few occasions this year at the near post, but it stood still on that occasion.
Aldershot over the halfway line to Thomas, to Harfield, gives possession away, and it's just fed down this near side into space, and Wood will give chase, but Harries is there, and Aldershot can spin it out of attack again with Harfield, but again Wood sticking to his task, runs his man, forces him to go backwards. Hussein steps out now as well, and will force them to go back across their back line to Kean Harris. And Harris this time does play a good ball out of defence into a little pocket of space for Glover, but he's then tracked by Miley, who gets a piece of it. And Kensdale into Cardwell in the centre circle in the Aldershot half. Cardwell goes out wide to Bridge. 3, 4, 5 yellow shirts ahead of Bridge. Sideways to Hussein. Hussein 20 yards from goal. Little ball in behind. They've got plenty of bodies in the 6-yard area. It was just slipped in by Noor Hussein. It was a good run as well, which was made from deep, but in the end it's a corner kick for Southend United as defender just manages to stretch and prevent Jason Dimitriou getting the cross in.
Yeah, it was a super run from Jason Dimitriou. Noor Hussein tried to hold it up as long as he could without allowing Jason Dimitriou to run offside, but Blues got this corner.
Another corner up towards Cardwell. Towering header away by Thomas, the striker back there helping out his defensive line. Sliding challenge by Dimitriou. Now there's a one-on-one over the far side. Stokes up against Miley is back tracking. He'd stayed back, have Miley. Stokes makes a complete hash of it, the youngster, but in turn Southend have then run the ball out of play, and it's a throw in, and everyone can just steady themselves down with 8.5 minutes of normal time to go.
Yeah, even with a one-on-one Stokes against Miley, you always fancied Miley, even though Stokes had the good possession of the ball, and Miley did his job once again.
1-1. All the reaction to come on air until 10:30 on BBC Essex. Contact details to come, all the full times, all of the non-league action tonight to tell you about too. Harfield, cut out by Taylor, or Gus Scott Morris rather, just takes his time and checks back. Inside the Southend half, Coker turns a little ball over the halfway line for Wood. Good footwork from Jack Wood, but in the end 3 Aldershot players managed to smuggle it away from him, but it's given away by Frost to Cardwell. Cardwell running towards Minoga and just running straight into the wall of Haji Minoga.
Yeah, looked a tired run with the ball, that one, didn't it, from Harry Cardwell. He tried to jink one way and then the other. In the end he's run straight into Minoga.
And here is Minogue once again, closed down by Cardwell, closed down by 2 yellow shirts, and he's lost possession, and Cardwell to Wood, Wood on his left foot, goes for the curler, straight into the goalkeeper's arms, he's dropped it, the goalkeeper, but over on that far post, it's looking to see who that is, who was berating Jack Wood, but if he'd looked up he might have been able to toe the ball into the back of the net. But meantime, Aldershot on the attack.
It was Noor Hussein
looking at the ground. Here Aldershot on the attack. Southend need to stay alive at the other end. Barham in turn off to Thomas, who shoots, and it's saved by David Martin, but not cleanly, and he picks it up at the second time of asking. Just opened up for Kwame Thomas with 7 minutes to go, and David Martin makes the save.
Yeah, decent save down to his left hand side, but that's something Blues have got to be so aware of. They have really been in the ascendancy in this second period. They're the team that have applied all the pressure, but they still pose a threat, Aldershot, don't they, when they go forward. And I think it was Thomas on that occasion that got his strike away, and it's a smart save by David Martin.
Aldershot's longest serving player, Tommy Willard, is preparing to come on, and this game could go one way or the other, but at the moment you'd say it's more likely Southend United because they're doing so much more of the pressing. And here's Coker out to Gus Scott Morris, whips the ball into the near post. Good defending, cleared away by the home side, and this is where it's stretched, where the gaps are in central midfield. Frost up to the halfway line, tracked by guess who, Cav Miley, who's caught his man as well, just as Frost offloaded the ball, and Miley slid in. The referee elects to keep this time his card in his pocket, and Aldershot can make the change with Tommy Willard coming on.
Yeah, I mean, good work again by Cav. Slightly late on that challenge, but it wasn't a booking. I know the Aldershot bench were up in arms and felt it was. I didn't. Then again, I'm probably biased.
It was literally, he slid in just as Frost has offloaded the ball, so it's a foul, but he's tried to time it the best he can. There was no intent, I don't think. Willard's still not on yet. They've taken the free kick of Aldershot. 5.5 to go with normal time on BBC Essex. 1 apiece it is. Aldershot ahead on the stroke of half-time through Laurent Talage. Southend level 17 minutes from the end. Hussein shot saved, spilt by the goalkeeper, and Harry Cardwell poking in the loose one from around about half a yard out.
We are going to see that change now, Glenn.
Yep, and it is Josh Stokes, who had a very impressive first half but has been less influential in the second half, and he's replaced by Tommy Willard.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good battle, isn't it? It's been intriguing as well, him and Cav Miley, and I think Cav's come out on top, to be perfectly honest, against a young man, but he's certainly a threat and a danger, certainly offensively going forward. Stokes, he worked extremely hard both ways in that first period, but Cav's a bit of experience and maybe superior fitness, I think, in this second half has taken its toll on Stokes, and he's come out, I think, ahead in the battle.
Because that three of Glover, Stokes and Barham were everywhere in that first half, but they're noticeably, basically because Southend have been doing all the attacking, not been able to do what they're good at.
Absolutely, and that man Miley has had a far bigger influence in this second period, running things.
1-1, Southend are on the attack again. There's so much running, it would appear, in those legs still. Bridge is poking the ball down the far side, but Hussein had just stepped offside, and Aldershot had held the line well, to be fair, and let him run. And it's a free kick on the edge of that penalty area. You can never question, well, the physical fitness of this Southend side. I thought they looked a bit tired and a bit fatigued, particularly in the second half on Saturday in really hot conditions, but you know, a couple of days later they've picked themselves up. But they're defending with Barham. Barham is forced out wide, forced well out wide, tries to turn his man on that byline, has lost possession, and it will be cleared away by the Blues, and they've done a decent job as well to get up towards the halfway line. Nice tight control by Wood, nice hold-up play from him.
Yeah, very good as well, and he was under extreme pressure by Mononga, and it was really good hold-up play by Jack Wood.
Gives it off to Bridge. Bridge spreads it to Coker. Comes right in front of us for Gus Scott Morris inside the Aldershot half. And Coker continues his run. 2 yellow shirts wait for the cross. Coker holds up play. Still got Scott Morris for support. It goes to him now. And he wants to escape and get beyond Frost. And he has Gus Scott Morris into the box. Squares it off for Cardwell. Cardwell, can he get it out from under his feet? Forced wide. I thought momentarily it might have opened up.
Yeah, it was good defending in the end by the Aldershot lad. Stayed on his feet, just refused the shooting line on Harry Cardwell, and he's had to come out.
Miley down the touchline for Scott Morris again. It's all very tight, just in front of us. It's in the attacking third. Miley turns one round the corner into Wood, who's looked really lively since he came on. Looked really confident on the ball as well.
Miley now just checks back from the challenge, holds on to possession. Wants to make sure he finds a yellow shirt. Wood across the edge of that area, but just stepping in front of Gus Scott Morris there was Glover, and then off to Burnett, and Burnett's been dragged back by Gus Scott Morris, and I think that might be it is a really cheap yellow card, but he knew he'd left space, I guess, and wanted to drag him back.
Yeah, probing again from Blues, maybe over elaborating a little bit. They had one or two opportunities to get the ball into the penalty area, but unfortunately for Blues, Cardwell was one of the men that was involved in the intricate little bit of play down this right hand side. So if they would have thrown it in, there probably wouldn't have been anybody trying to get on the end of it, but it results in a Gus Scott Morris yellow card, unfortunately.
Harris hits the free kick forward up to the halfway line, flicked on by Cardwell. Now Wood trying to run his man here, but there are two covering defenders. He had got to be on Harris, but Harfield was there. Van Stappershoff, a few sharp intakes of breath in front of me, eventually clears the ball away.
Yeah.
And it goes back to his opposite number, David Martin, who I think he can be pretty assured, he says, touching Wood. He's a lot more tidier in his work. Scott Morris into the centre circle. Minogue heads forward. Headed away by Coker, on by Wood. Again, another good touch from the youngster. Sets Southend United away. Hussein breaks forward. Bridge has just held the line there, and because he didn't let the ball go first time, Bridge just checked, and when he did pass him, Jack Bridge wasn't there, and he goes through to the goalkeeper. Goal kick.
Yeah, he'd already put the brakes on, hadn't he, Jack Bridge, and as Knorr played the ball forward.
1-1 on BBC Essex. Flicked on now by Thomas. Wants Barham to run on towards it. But Southend have cover there, and Kensdale's fouled actually as he clears the ball away under pressure from Jack Barham. I think it was frustration, because I think he felt he probably had the running of Ollie Kensdale there, but the defender a little bit cuter, a little bit smarter. And it's a free kick for Southend United inside the final minute of the 90. Just waiting to see what might be added on at the end of this one. I think it's calmed down since the early weeks of the season, hasn't it? They're not going to have a half an hour.
Yeah. We played 3 halves in one game.
Yeah, no thanks. Cleared away by David Martin. Cardwell gets the flick on. Wood battles with Minogue. Minogue gets caught under that one and heads it more up in the air than anywhere else. Hooked away by Burnett. And sliding challenge in from Miley forces Harfield to go back to the goalkeeper. I put pressure on the goalkeeper.
Yeah, especially when he's controlling it like that. Goodness me.
Over the halfway line it goes. Thomas gets the flick on up towards Barham. Sucked towards the ball, 3 or 4 yellow shirts, and Coker's clearance down the near side spins out of play, and we will have 4 minutes, just the 4. There's no number either side of it, just the 4 minutes of time added on at the end of this one. So if you want to get in contact with us, give us your thoughts on this Southend performance. 81333 to text us and start your message with the word Essex. You can WhatsApp us, start your WhatsApp with Essex as well. And that is 08000 321 333. You can email essex.sport@bbc.co.uk. Give us a ring, 0800 111 4041. Victoria is awaiting to hear from you. Here is Coker, cross midfield for Hussein, at BBC Essex Sport on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. Demetriou out wide, receives it from Hussein. Back the edge of the area for Noor Hussein. Hussein checks one way, jinks back on the other, squares the pass off. It's there for Bridge, who shoots, strikes the defender, hooked away by Minogue, and cleared to the halfway line. Southend still pressing, still looking for a winner in this game, and it goes back to David Martin again.
It was a good strike, wasn't it, from Jack Bridge? No, it was one of the defenders just cannoned off of him, and it was certainly heading goal bound.
70 seconds played, the time added on. Can Southend United fashion themselves one more opportunity in this game? They have done all the pressing, all the pushing since this second half kicked off. I've run out of space in my Southend United column on my notes to put in chances there, because that's how good and how much on top they've been in this second period, and they actually deserve to go on and win the game. Here's Coker. Bridge wanted the return pass, but Coker checks inside instead to Hussein. Hussein's got Gus Scott Morris outside it. Instead goes up to Cardwell, who offloads it to Hussein once again, and Gus Scott Morris goes on the overlap and gets there. What's his delivery like? It's tidy towards the far post, and it's put behind.
over on that far side by Jones for another corner kick for Southend United, their 9th of this game.
Yeah, lovely approach played by Blues. Eventually he released Gus Scott Morris down his right hand side, and it's a delicious ball put in at the far post, begging to be put in the back of the net, and unfortunately it's fallen in between Blues players and cleared for another corner.
Another one, the 9th, into the 6-yard area, flicked away by Thomas, the striking substitute for Aldershot. Glover, right-footed, spreads the ball up to Thomas, who just cleared the ball away. He's very sure in his touch, deep inside his own half. Back to Minoga. Cuts inside his man. He's going to lose possession there, Haji Minoga, and he has lost it. He's coughed it up to Cardwell. He's got Wood ahead of him. Oh, and he can't pick out Jack Wood, Harry Cardwell. It seemed the simplest of passes, but it's cut out, and it might instead end up in an Aldershot attack over on the far side. What a good challenge that is, by the way, from Jason Demetriou. Just holds up the home side, but there still might be danger for the Blues. This is Ethan Burnett. Burnett out to Harfield. Harfield checks back in turn for Burnett. Burnett turns the left-footed ball in beyond everybody, and it'll go out for a defensive throw in for Southend, or will Demetriou keep it in? No, he keeps it in, and the Blues can clear their lines. 45 seconds to go, and if Harry Cardwell could have found Jack Wood, that might have been the youngster's moment.
Yeah, I thought he might have used him as a decoy and just let his run as a dummy run and come inside, but he chose to get the pass away and just couldn't execute it.
Coker now. 30 seconds to go to Hussein. Hussein to Cardwell, goes for the return, and it's not quite there for Noor Hussein, and it's just smashed anywhere deep inside the Southend United half. Demetriou looking over his shoulder, looks in front of him, looks at the ball, looks over his shoulder and rolls it back to David Martin, who goes out to Cav Miley. Is there another opportunity for Southend United? Miley carries it forward over the halfway line for Hussein. Hussein turns it on towards Bridge. It's not into his path, and that does bring to an end a very entertaining game of National League football, which has finished one apiece, Glenn Pennyfather. Few Aldershot players are out laying on the ground. A couple of Blues players just crouched down as well, but a game Southend United could and maybe should, on second half evidence of one.
I thought there was excellent second half, Glenn. I've got to be honest. I thought first half was pretty even. You know, we spoke about Blues shooting in that first period, but they certainly had their shooting boots on in the second half, and they absolutely dominated that second 45 minutes. This group of players dug deep again, Glenn. We know what they're going through. We know how much they're putting their bodies on the line for this football club, and they've done it again tonight. Showed absolute bundles of character once more to come back in a game they had fallen behind in late in that first period, and it was a super goal. Harry Cardwell, Noor Hussein having the strike, decent build-up play, great strikes built by the goalkeeper, tucked in, classic sort of centre forwards goal, poacher's goal, making sure he's in there and getting the bits and pieces off the goalkeeper. And I thought Blues would go on to win it. I've got to be honest, I was sitting here thinking it's just a matter of time. Such was the pressure that Blues had. They really did, and time again they got down both sides, whether it was Jack Bridge or Noor Hussein down one side, Gus Scott Morris down the other side. Shots were raining in. The goalkeeper looked very dodgy, in all fairness, in that second period for Aldershot. He didn't look confident at all. He looked very edgy, but it's a point, and something maybe Kevin would have accepted at half-time, being 1-0 down. But I think if you speak to him now on the evidence of how well they dominated that second period, he'd probably think it was another 2 lost. But again, you have to take your hats off to this group of players. The actual investment of the energy and desire and fire in the belly that they put in for this football club is magnificent.